Zero stalling. We're going to jump straight into it. Chapter 692. It's called Suspect. And hopefully we take the lead again. I know. We fell behind, guys. We're going to put 60x multiple in the first episode. If we... After turning a 2-minute react into an hour and 20, I don't know, man. We'll find out. So, if you guys haven't watched it, make sure to check out our official trailer for react. There was a lot of news yesterday, so it ended up becoming an hour and 20 minutes of react. 20 chapters a day, please. I'm not sure. We'll find out. We'll see how far we get there. But chapter 692 is called Suspect. So if you like what you're going to see, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thank you to everybody that's been being a member recently. Sorry, hold up, that didn't make sense. Thank you for everybody that has signed up recently to become a member. I think we're at 27, 28. We're really close. I think once we're like at between, I'll double check, but when we're between 30 to 32, we'll be able to add another custom emote. So then that brings us a total to 2 new custom emotes, and one is definitely gonna be clown makeup. I have 9 days now to perfect the clown makeup, so I've been watching. I'm not gonna lie, I've been watching clown makeup tutorials. You know, I've even been looking up scary clown makeup tutorials. Thank you, Richie boy. It's a learning experience. I'm like, okay, now I just gotta go buy the makeup and it'll be pretty sick, dude. So we'll see how it turns out. But for now, Lord of Mysteries, Volume 3, Traveler. Seeing everyone on the Golden Dream aim their sights at Anderson, Klein took a step forward and said to the Nits, his side facing him, "Bring me to the captain's cabin." All right. The Nits retracted his gaze and glared aimed at Anderson Hood. Prioritize Captain's rescue. Prioritize Captain rescue. He kept repeating it to himself. The Golden Dream first released a dinghy before lowering a gangway, allowing Klein to easily step onto the deck without using a charm. Around 40 chaps left in Volume 1. Shit, dude, we're so close. Anderson followed by his side, completely ignoring the glares of the Golden Dream's crew. With a smile, he strode forward as he looked around, treating it as his own home. His mental fortitude is truly remarkable. Yes, even after offending a demigod where he was forced to apologize in public and accept a mission, he was able to laugh at himself and enjoy a meal. Klein sighed inwardly as he walked towards the third mate, Jodson and company. "Hello, Mr. Sparrow. I'm the ship's first mate, Brew Walls." A 1.8-meter tall man with a monocle politely bowed. A monocle. Maybe that's like Amon's parasite. The pirate Gourmet, who's worth 6,200 pounds. The bounties of Vice Admiral Iceberg's pirate crew are clearly lower than Admirals of the Stars. They live up to being treasure hunters who happen to be part-time pirates. They're treasure hunters who are part-time pirates. Klein greeted him using Gurman's style of politeness. "Hello, everyone. I've heard about you." "Huh, it's my honor. I'm only a treasure hunter who dreams of being an artisan, but I ended up having a gourmet." Brewall said in a self-deprecating manner. He pointed to the man beside him and said, "Our second mate, Singer Orpheus." Yo, what's up, guys? I know. I'm kind of excited to see where this molecule goes. Bounty of 5,500 pounds. The Beyonders of the Golden Dream all have odd nicknames. I didn't know that they were the subordinates of Pirate Admiral. I would have definitely believed them to be a traveling crew who sing and enjoy good food while holding bonfires as they seek out legendary treasure. It's truly a beautiful life. Klein cast his gaze on Orpheus and nodded. The singer had been sculpted outline and a head of resplendent blonde hair. He said with a sad smile, "Actually, I'm only praising the sun, but now my sun has disappeared." Praise the sun. I understood that reference. Klein nearly felt goosebumps all over him. Tisk, as expected of someone from Intis. He speaks like he's singing. What a pity. I grew up a Sigir in Lemberg and didn't pick up this ability. Anderson said with a chuckle. It wasn't clear if he was praising or degrading Orpheus. After all, half the blood flowing in his veins was Intis blood. Born in the Cigar and later studied in Lemberg. Yes, it was likely a church school. His classmates and Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina. Mr. Orpheus is definitely from the Sun Pathway, but he's unlikely to be from the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun. Intis Besnesh, it is, man. From his bounty, he's likely a Sequence 6 notary. I almost forgot to inform Little Sun that I have his formula. So I feel like he's going to get it towards the end of the volume. I wonder will he'll use it in exchange this time. Klein turned forward, flowery bow-tie Jodson and Beryl Daniels before Gourmet and Brew Walls introduced. I ship Anderson and Edwina. I do, man. No, wait, Anderson? What? Not the Nits? Not the Nits and Edwina? You ship Anderson and Edwina? Really? Damn, I feel bad for the Nits now, man. We've met. Let's not waste any time. All right, Bruce Walls, he decided relief, stroked his short beard, and led the way into the cabin. If it wasn't for how famous German Sparrow was on that ship, he wouldn't have been that polite. At that moment, Anderson deliberately stayed behind, walking alongside the Knits, Orpheus, and company. He looked to his left and right, unfazed by how the surrounding pirates looked like they wanted to rip him apart. He laughed with a tisk. Yes. The one you should be wary of isn't me. Yes, we aren't wary of you. We only want to stuff you in. What? Yes, we aren't wary of you. We only want to stuff you in. See that into that cannon. The Knits wasn't afraid that Anderson was the strongest hunter. After all, they were on the Golden Dream. There were plenty of pirates, and many of them were Sequence 6 or Sequence 7 Beyonders. Anderson curled his lips. I'm actually not a threat. Think about it. Your captain definitely hates and detests me. She wouldn't even want to speak to me. Isn't that the deal? The Knits turned... Isn't that ideal? The Knits turned agape, but he didn't say anything. He suddenly felt that he was a pile of dog shit. Said made sense. Poor the Knits. He's going through it, man. I feel bad for him. The Knits turned to Gabe, but he didn't say anything. He suddenly felt that Pala dog shit made sense. The looks in the eyes of Orpheus, Jones, and the company also subconsciously turned gentle. Anderson chuckled as he looked at them. He said in a rather ethereal tone, "The person you should be wary of is German Sparrow." Why? The Knits blurted out. Although he's a madman that warns needs to be wary of him, he's not an enemy at the moment. The Knits silently added. Anderson laughed. I'm assuming that German Sparrow successfully finds your captain and rescued her. Will your captain have fond feelings for him as a result? And his background is especially mysterious. Wait. Besides, he looks pretty good. He has the cold and aloof aesthetic and is strong. He's at the level of a pirate admiral, and his background is especially mysterious. He's completely compatible. How is it possible? The Knits wished to retort, but he was momentarily lost for words. He felt increasingly more convinced that things weren't right. If Anderson and Edwina were a thing, Anderson would provoke the Knits to death. Technically, he provoked the whole crew. So there might be more to it. Orpheus and company had their expressions collapse bit by bit. They looked at German Sparrow back with a newfound sense of wariness. Anderson. Resolve the provocation problem from before has been resolved. With a smile, Anderson walked into the cabin. When he arrived inside the captain's cabin, Klein first circled the room, which was nearly filled with bookshelves. On it were all kinds of books. The average captain's cabin is filled with racks of alcohol. He silently mumbled before walking straight to the desk by the window. According to Knit's description, Edwina had vanished during his research. Therefore, finding the traces of her research was Klein's goal. After he gathered enough information, he would head above the gray fog to divine the matter. At that moment, the desk was a mess with many things placed on it. There was a white paper, a fountain pen, an ink, a bottle, a bronze dagger, and untidily stacked books. In the middle of the desk was a book made of goat skin. Its dark brown cover had the words "GROSELLE'S Travels" written in ancient Basic. So Groselle is being brought back up. Isn't this one of the Vice Admiral Iceberg's collections? It has a mysterious origin and is suspected to be related to the dragons in the City of Miracles, Livsied. Edwina was studying this before she disappeared. Oh, no shot. Are we gonna... If we go into the dream world, would Groselle be in the dream? And then if he's allegedly Roselle, would we find like a dream manifestation of Roselle in the mind world or the dream world? Klein looked at the book and instinctively made a guess. Seeing German Sparrow study the ancient book, the Knits forced a smile and said, "There's nothing wrong with it. We have already inspected it." Isn't that so? I seriously doubt you're meticulous since someone has flipped it and there aren't many obvious abnormalities with it. Together with the fact that Klein determined that the Knits was saying the truth was his spiritual intuition, Klein reached out for it and asked, "Have you read Groselle's Travels?" Maybe, maybe not. I'll find out. The Knit shook his head. Bruce Walsh, Orpheus Jotson, and company shook their heads as well. Their expressions seemed to say that their daily studies were tiring enough. They didn't wish to read any other books during the break. Swiping his fingerprints across the yellowish-brown goatskin, Klein carefully and seriously reached a page. Soon he arrived at the spot where the pages were stuck together. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that was written in it. That's not right. His gaze focused as he hurriedly flipped 2 pages back. He clearly remembered that his previous read stopped at the giant Groselle and his team preparing to change the Frost Dragon, the King of the North, and the head-on clash. There was nothing after that, but now there were 2 more pages. It also meant that the stuck pages had thinned and the book had 2 more pages. The chapters came to a halt. Oh, because the pages were stuck together. The chapters came to a halt for 1,000 years before it continued. These are the fruits of Vice Admiral Iceberg's research. They've also led to her disappearance. As Klein lampooned, he frowned as he read the additional content. The 2 pages described a lost female pirate. She encountered the King of the North in a blizzard. Oh, she's living the book. Oh, the storm. She encountered the king of the north in a blizzard, and she was nearly killed only by using... I'm sorry, she went in the book. And she was nearly killed only by using all her strength. Was she successful in escaping before meeting the main lead's team who were here to change the Frost Dragon? There's the addition of female pirate, Oh, the new pages are because Edwina's in the book. Edwina entered the book. So now because she's in that blizzard, there's more to the story. So it's like what's happening to her in real time is what's happening in the book, and that's why there's more pages. The 2 pages described a lost female pirate. She encountered the kings of the north in a blizzard, and she nearly killed only by using all her strength. She was successful in escaping before meeting the main lead's team who were here to challenge the Frost Dragon. There is the addition of a female pirate. Klein ruminated over the description as the idea suddenly came to him. Could she be Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina? Yo, that's sick. She entered the book and became a character in story. With this idea in mind, Klein quickly realized certain problems. Roads mentioned before that the past owners of the GROSELL'S travels vanished. You remember the sequence for the apprentice pathway? No. Author? Writer? Which one was writer? Wasn't writer one of them? Right? GROSELL'S travels had a giant from the Dark Epoch, which is almost the second epoch, an elf, and aesthetic from the 3rd or 4th epoch, a Solomon Empire noble, and a 5th epoch Loan soldier. The times are extremely chaotic. So whoever comes into contact with the book gets sucked into the book, and that's why like all the characters are so like, you know, out of place. It was mentioned the last Ezekiel Force Pathway. It was revealed last stream. Bro, I have not remembered. I don't remember one. I don't remember. Oh my god. If it was just last stream, I already forgot. Sequence 6, 4. Oh my god. I'm gonna pretend I remember. We'll update. GROSELL'S travels as a... GROSELL'S travels as a giant... Well, I just read this. If they were all members of the owners of the GROSELL'S travels who disappeared, that will solve the problem. They do not belong to the same period, and they were swallowed by the book, becoming a character in the story. Klein found his theory ridiculous as he thought about it, but it was highly likely. In the world of mysticism, this isn't possible. I have to confirm it. Besides, what did Edwina and the past owners do to be swallowed by the book? And what should I do to resolve them? Klein retracted his gaze and thought deeply in silence. Soon he looked up at the Knits and Company. Prepare items like candles. I will be praying for an answer for a secret existence. From a secret existence? Oh, and that existence is myself, duh. Klein added inwardly in jest, he really is professional and crazy. Gourmand Brew Wallace and company didn't dare to speak further. They hurriedly provided materials before leaving the captain's cabin. They didn't dare to watch such dangerous rituals unless Germiswear requested them to do so. Inside the captain's cabin, Klein locked the door, closed the windows, and quickly set up the ritual. Then he brought GROSELL'S travels above the Grey Fog. After placing the ancient book at the end of the long bronze table, he sat down and conjured a pen and paper. He then scribbled a divination statement. Edwina is in the storybook. Yeah, dude. No shot. We're gonna do like an isekai within an isekai. We're going to transmigrate in a story where we've already transmigrated. It's like it's layers of transmigration. This is so cool, dude. Okay, I know we're joking. Isekaiception and then transmiception. Unironically, it is isekaiception. It's like an inception. Like you go deeper into the dreams. Like you need to remember all the real pathway. I know, man. I have to go. Like I remember mostly volume 2, but since I haven't taken notes on volume 3 because you know, just time, it's like it's been hard. It's been hard for me to do volume 3 right now. So I do apologize ahead of time. Like I do read our lore section on Discord, but just I haven't put none of that yet in my volume 3 notes. I do apologize for that. But chapter 693 is called Attempt. After putting down the fountain pen in his hand, Klein removed the spirit pendulum from his left wrist, holding it in one hand and letting it hang down over the paper in close proximity. Edwina is in the story of this book. Klein closed his eyes and silently repeated the divination statement. After he recited the statement, he opened his eyes and saw the topaz pennant spinning clockwise. This meant the Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina was inside GROSELL'S travels. It really is a world inside of a book. Furthermore, the situation inside is very special. Without new characters, the story inside isn't able to continue. Klein indescribably nodded, wondering wounding the silver chain and topaz pendant around his wrist again, he picked up the dark red fountain pen and wrote a new divination statement, the method to enter Groselle's travels. This time he used dream divination. In a gray fog, hazy world, he saw indistinct figures. Oh, he just ended? Okay. No, I'm sorry. I guess we overlapped for a little bit. I do apologize. The figures were of varying sizes, some huge, others slender. The things all of them had in common was that they held a book with pages of yellowish-brown goatskin. The following developments branched off in 2 scenarios. A number of them vanished silently with Groselle's travels on them. The others would accidentally or deliberately drip their blood on the cover while carrying Groselle's travels with them before suddenly vanishing. The scene shattered and Klein opened his eyes to see the model table in front of him. He frowned as he made an interpretation. To enter or activate Groselle's travels, it either needs prolonged contact with it to a certain extent, or would you need to drip one's blood onto the cover? Oh, that's trippy. If you actually have to put blood on it, you can make little notes of the pathways. Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I've been taking so long for Volume 3. And I know we're almost done with Volume 3, so I do apologize. Isn't that too simple? Perhaps it really is that simple. In the story of the Lowen soldiers first appeared was an ordinary person who didn't know mysticism. With the help of his companions, he slowly became a disciplinary paladin. Therefore, the activated method isn't too complicated. An ordinary person is able to accomplish it. A small number of researchers before this included Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina, were beyonders with sufficient amounts of mysticism knowledge. They were not to rashly drip the blood, otherwise death might occur without them even knowing it. This is akin to ordinary people using the correct form of magic mirror divination. It's very easy to provoke a powerful existence or secret existence. It's why no problems happen to them. At least Volume 4 keeps the notes in real time, because otherwise they're just useless. Yeah, I think I have to do that now. I think I have to do them like in real time. Otherwise I'm just gonna like screw myself over. Yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, I think, I mean, I'll do them off stream. I'll go through our Discord lore section today, and first I'm gonna add all the pathways that I had revealed, and then I'll go back vice versa and see where you guys helped start taking notes for Volume 3. Dude, username. Thank you for being a member for 6 months, bro. Dude, thank you. Damn, it's been 6 months. Damn, man, that's crazy, dude. For 6 months already, username? Holy shit, man. Dude, time goes by so quickly. It's been like half a year. Dude, thank you guys so much. Furthermore, Edwina built diff. Shit ton alert. I know, there's been so much has happened these last 6 months. A small number of researchers wait, did I read this? A small number of researchers before this, including Vice Admiral Iceberg, were beyond with sufficient amounts of mysticism knowledge. They knew not to rashly drip their blood, otherwise death might occur without them even knowing it. This is akin to ordinary people using the correct form of magic mirror divination. It's very easy to provoke a powerful existence or secret existences, is why no problems happen to them. It feels like 2 months. It does feel like 2 months. I feel like it went by like quick, dude. Furthermore, Edwina kept her Groselle's travels in the collector's room most of the time and only interacts with it occasionally. As such, it was only when she recently had a new research concept that she had prolonged contact with it, completed the condition requiring to activate the book. Yes, even her roads only knew that there's something strange with the book. Many of the past owners had vanished, and it suspected that it had something to do with the dragons in the City of Miracles. Lives yet. This means that Groselle's travels will interfere with its surroundings when being activated. Therefore, most of the collectors in the past do not know of its problem and had no thoughts of studying it. The owners who disappeared likely are limited to the ones in the story. The others might have died from all kinds of reasons, failing to leave their names in the book. Klein focused again and made another divination, hoping to obtain the methods to leave Groselle's travels. This time he saw a more tempestuous blizzard in the gray, hazy dreamscape. He saw a gigantic figure at the top of an ice peak. It was a translucent dragon who remained nearly 5 meters tall, 15 feet, while standing on all fours. It resembled a lizard cousin and had an ugly face with an eerie blue eyes. It had a thick, powerful tail and a pair of gigantic wings covered in a skin membrane on its back. It seemed to bloat out of the sky simply by spreading its wings. Its scales resembled the ice crystals that swirled with a crystalline glow. It was the most beautiful and dreamy part of its entire body. Suddenly, the dragon, which resembled an ice sculpture, raised its neck and body, and it let out a terrifying roar that penetrated through the blizzard. At this moment, it reached 10 meters tall by standing up on its hind legs. King of the North, that frost dragon, Klein left the dream and tapped the armrest of the high back chair. His interpretation of divination revealed was that the key to living Groselle's travels lay with the King of the North. Klein's initial guess was that only by helping the main lead Groselle's accompanying his goals, slaying the frost dragon. You have to do all that. So you have to finish the story to escape. Accomplishing his goal, slaying the frost dragon, will the story come to an end, opening a passageway to exit the book. What the fuck? So he has to go in slay the frost dragon, wrap up the story of the book, Grosseille's Travels, and then he can open the bridge. So apparently it can be more than just Edwina. Like, so if any other people have been alive in that book, Dragon Slayer Gurman is gonna be sick, dude. Now he's gonna, not only is he a hunter, he's gonna be a Dragon Slayer, dude. However, I can also attempt to see if I can forcefully no, go in. He has to go in and like kill the dragon now. Like, there's no shot he's had, like, there's no shot he dreamed of the giant dude riding the dragon towards volume 2, and now he doesn't get to do that himself and kill his own dragon. Because, like, you literally see a guy. Oh, maybe that was foreshadowing Klein? No, that doesn't make sense. No. I remember he had a dream and he saw a guy, like, riding on a dragon, right? In volume 2? No, never mind. Klein's initial guess was that only by... I read this. However, I can also attempt to see if I can forcibly break open the barrier between the world in the book and the real world. Klein reigned, not riding, killing. Well, yeah, like... No, I meant, like... No, I don't mean he's going to be a dragon rider. No. He's going to be the dragon slayer. However, I can also attempt to see if I can forcibly break open the... I find that a very interesting parallel. I find that kind of funny. Like, you see the guy riding a dragon, and now he's going to be the one killing the dragon. Well, I know it's not the same dragon, but like a dragon. I can also attempt to see if I can forcibly break open a barrier between the world and the book and the real world. Klein relied on his rich experience to quickly come up with an attempt. He first picked up the Black Emperor card, which was facing down, and he infused it into his spare body. Suddenly, Klein's body was covered in black full body armor. On his head was a heavy crown as his aura became majestic and dignified. It exuded an awe-inspiring vibe. Following that, he stirred the powers of the mysterious space above the Great Fog to the limit, making them surge over like a tidal wave. Upon seeing the scenes, Klein didn't hesitate to summon the Sea God Scepter from the Jung Pao before he infused it with his spirituality within. The blue gems on the end of the bone scepter lit up one after another, emitting blinding luster. Majestic aura, the most majestic of majestic. Countless silver bolts of lightning surfaced as they zapped about the Grand Palace as though they were forming a sea of lightning. He didn't trust most of the people on the Golden Dream, and he also felt way of the strongest hunter, Anderson. His attempt to divine if it was dangerous to enter the book to rescue Edwina was met with failure. He's aura forming. Klein thought deeply for a moment before returning to the real world. Then he unhurriedly brought back Grosseille's Travels and removed the traces on the ritual. Looking out the window and impending dusk, he walked to the captain's cabin door, unlocked the door, and opened it. Gourmand, Bruwals, Singer, Orpheus, and company were all outside. None of them had left. There were even sailors who peeked their heads from the outside of the staircase. Any clues? Bruwals blurted out of his question, but he didn't hear his voice because everyone at the door was asking the same question. Klein swept his gaze and nodded. Instantly, he heard the sighs of relief, and he saw that all kinds of happy and excited expressions. If I were to vanish one day, who would act like that? Klein focused his thoughts and said to the Nits, What do you mean, dude? Benson and Melissa. With that, he turned to walk to the desk. All right, the Nits hurriedly followed and familiarly locked the door. And also everybody in the Terror Club. Is there anything you need from me? He hurriedly asked. He looked as though he could already see his captain being rescued through his artwork. Klein stood by the desk and solemnly said, What happens next will be very dangerous. Very dangerous. The Nits instinctively gritted his teeth. You might vanish or even die immediately. Klein told the worst possible outcome. Seeing how serious the madman Germansparrow was, the Nits instantly understood the gravity of the situation. His heart sank and he subconsciously became frantic. What does this have to do with rescuing Captain? It's directly related. Klein answered succinctly. The Nit's expression twisted as he fell silent for 2 seconds. What will happen if nothing is done? Your captain might be left there forever, or she might die in the next second. Klein said truthfully. The Nits turned to gape as he closed his mouth in silence. His eyes turned adrift for a few seconds before they focused back on Germansparrow's face. Gritting his teeth, he said, Let's begin. Dog shit, he softly cursed himself. Klein picked up the pen and paper on the table, scribbled a note, and folded it into a square before handing it to the Nits. I feel like the music hasn't even been picked up. Put it in your pocket. Read it after you enter. Enter. The Nits asked, puzzled and clueless. Azik the goat? Azik would come? He would. Azik, Benson, Melissa, and like all the other Terror Club members, right? Put it in your pocket. Read it after you enter. Enter. The Nits asked, puzzled and clueless. As he spoke, he automatically took the paper slip and stuffed it into his trouser pockets. Klein didn't reply as he pointed at Grosseille's Travels. Smear some of your blood on the book's cover. This, as the Nits made a vague guess, he picked up the bronze dagger beside him and nodded heavily. All right. Good use of emojis. Everything is a JoJo reference. Yeah, speaking of King Crimson, we skipped the damn page. It was after he used the Sea God Scepter. I didn't read this part. Thunder resonating above the gray fog in the distance is thick. We read this part. Right here where it talks about the book. Blinding light enveloped the entire palace for a full 20 seconds. After everything was over, Klein looked at the target and discovered the model table was in shambles. As for the dark brown leather book, it was completely unharmed. Only its ends curled up a little. How long is it? Was going to be like 3 to 4 hours. Hopefully, knock on wood. Everything Arrington's already climbed at the target again, discovered the model table was in shambles. Wait, it's far more impressive than I imagined. That's right. How can an item which can create a whole new world be so simple? I would have made a loss buying it for 8,000 pounds back then. It can be used as a shield. It can definitely defend against attacks from saints. It's that sturdy. The only problem is its tiny size. I won't be able to shield much. Klein thought raised as the bronze table was quickly restored to normal. I'm sorry. If he keeps the bug, is he going to be using it to, like, block attacks? That'd be funny. We're going to keep reading because I don't know where I got lost in that place and I can't find it. My tunnel vision is way too janky right now, so I do apologize for that. But yes, not sequence grade. Did I say sequence? My bad. It's either grade 0 or grade 1. That's how you know I'm still a little sleepy. It's either grade 0 or grade 1. No, it wouldn't be 0. But the fact that you can suck them into, like, a whole own, like, entire book world, maybe it would be 0. It's probably, it's a high 1, low 0. It's a high 1, low 0. That's probably what it is. Let's try this again. I'm so sorry. This is like the most scuffed chapter ever, man. I apologize. No, I'm not saying the chapter scuffed. This is my most scuffed attempt at reading a chapter since I started, because I don't know how I got lost. He didn't trust most of the people in the Golden Dream. He also felt wary of the strongest hunter, Anderson. He attempted to divine it was dangerous to enter the book to rescue Edwina. Was met with failure. Klein thought deeply for a moment before returning to where we rolled. Then he unhurriedly brought back Groselle'S travels and removed the traces of the ritual. Looking out the window in the painting dusk, he walked to the captain's cabin, unlocked the door, and opened it. Oh, I read this part. Any clues? Okay. That was weird. I apologize for that. But chapter 694 is called Burn Upon Chanting. The Nitz held the dagger in silence across the back of his left palm, but he hesitated, preventing him from using much strength. He looked up and forced a smile. Although I've been injured many times, pain still leaves me afraid. To get to the point, Klein replied coldly. The Nitz gave a hollow laugh. I'm just a little scared of pain. Just as he said that, he exerted strength with his right hand, slicing open a wound on the back of his hand with the bronze knife. The words he had said was apparently to divert his attention so that he could recoil with the idea of pain. Get to the point, Klein replied coldly. The Nitz gave a hollow laugh. I'm just a little scared of pain. I'm a little scared of pain. Just as he said that, he exerted strength with his right hand, slicing open a wound on the back of his hand with the bronze knife. The words he had said was apparently to divert his attention so he reconciled with the idea of pain. Blind quickly stepped out as the Nitz immediately put down the dagger. He dabbed some blood on his right finger and smeared it across the dark brown cover of Groselle'S travels. After finishing that, he held his breath, waiting for a change. Suddenly, he saw a snowflake the size of a goose feather. Strong winds howled by his ear, and immediately a biting chill wildly drilled into his body. Although the Nitz was mentally prepared, he was still alarmed. He instinctively looked around to confirm where he was. He realized at some point in time he had left the captain's cabins of the Golden Dream. He found himself in a land of frost struck by a blizzard. Due to the extreme environment, he couldn't see in the distance at all. He couldn't even tell if it was one of the mountain or a flat plain. I've really entered a strange world. The captain is here too. The Nitz held up his hands to block his face, afraid that the snow would get in his ways. He calmed himself down as he recalled Gerben's instructions. From his pocket, he hurriedly took out a piece of paper he had folded into a square, and he carefully unfolded it. While doing so, he was especially afraid of any actions that could lead to the paper tearing or being blown away. That would make him lose all hope, but thankfully none of that happened. He saw the contents written by Gerben Sparrow. Recite the following honorific names in Hermes, but preferably in ancient Hermes. What? Is he teaching him? Recite the following honorific names in Hermes, but preferably in ancient Hermes, the fool that doesn't belong to this era. The mysterious ruler above the gray fog, the king of yellow and black who wields good luck. Burn this upon chanting. This is a secret existence at a level of a deity. Due to Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina's sick education, the Nitz wasn't illiterate when it came to mysticism. He even had quite a good foundation. Looking at the piece of paper in his hand, he subconsciously drew a gasp, sucking in the cold wind and ice-cold snowflakes that left the biting cold. He immediately coughed as his expression turned twisted. He was able to confirm one of his past theories. And what theory was that? Sparrow really did belong to a powerful and very secretive organization, and the organization consecrates an existence known as the Fool, a godlike existence. Indeed, such a powerful and crazy fellow can appear out of nowhere. They don't just spout on the ground. Dennis tugged at his collar and tightened his clothes. Looking at the piece of paper fluttering in the world, he wore a clear look of hesitation. He knew very well how dangerous it was to recite the names of an unknown secret existence whose intentions were unknown. It could lead to an outcome more terrifying than death. Captain is also trapped here. Furthermore, there's no way of leaving. Dennis clapped his hands and placed them before his mouth. He suddenly threw out his hands and used ancient Hermes to recite the Fool's honorific name. On the Golden Dream in the captain's cabin, with his own eyes, Klein witnessed the Nits turn illusory without any reason before disappearing. There were no longer any questions about how to enter into GROSELLE'S travels could be achieved. After patiently waiting for a moment, he heard a series of illusory pleas, and it clearly came from a man. Viewed from the looks of it, GROSELLE'S travels is unable to block out the gray fog. The world inside the book is still connected to the mysterious space. This way, even if I were to enter, I wouldn't be entirely cornered or lack any trump cards. Klein didn't hide his sigh of relief. To confirm it, he took 4 steps counterclockwise while chanting the incantation. After arriving above the gray fog, he saw the brilliance representing the Nits rippling outwards besides the Fool's high back chair. The body and the soul enter together. The world inside the book is very stable. There's no way to shatter it by pulling up the spirit. Indeed, if possible, the divination from before would be received the corresponding. Truly, Clone? I repent. I used to read the Nits as... Used to read it as what? Oh, as Dantes instead of the Nits. Oh! Revelation. Using the Sea God Scepter is too dangerous. Bestowing the Nits directly will only speed up his death. Klein half closed his eyes as he emanated his spirituality. After taking everything in for a moment, he arrived at many conclusions. He didn't delay and returned to the real world immediately. Holding the bronze dagger, he wiped away the Nit's blood on a piece of paper. After folding a piece of paper and putting it into his pocket, he began to consider his next move. From the looks of it, smearing blood allows direct entry. This way, I don't have to worry about my body suffering any accidents. Furthermore, I can very quickly resolve the problem, but similarly, I can't be careless. I have to be careful of any other dangers? If there's anyone on this ship that might be problematic, they might be able to sneak into the captain's cabins after I enter GROSELLE'S travels. Sacrifice this to the Book of the True Creator, Primordial Demoness, or the Hidden Sage. I'll be in trouble then. I'll definitely suffer something worse than death. That was slightly a tongue twister. I'll definitely suffer something worse than death. I don't know why that was a tongue twister for me. The Golden Dream sailors mostly seem to be infatuated with Vice Admiral Iceberg. The fact that Anderson's superficial provocation was effective enough proves this. Therefore, telling them that this involves Vice Admiral Iceberg's life and getting them to watch each other so that no one enters, that will put me at ease. The problem, because they're so in love with her, True Creator mentioned. So because they're so in love with her, Klein is like, okay, I should be safe. The problem lies with Anderson. He's the strongest hunter. He's stronger than any of the Beyonders on board the ship. Furthermore, he's good at ambushes and infiltrations. There's still a small possibility that he can avoid the monitoring of the others and secretly sneak into the captain's cabin. His background is still too dubious, and I have no way to really trust him. Really? Even after everything, he still doesn't trust him? Alright, I guess that's realistic, right? I have to think of a way to get him to enter GROSELLE'S travels with me. Amidst his thoughts, Klein flipped through the ancient book covered in yellowish-brown goat skin. He discovered that there wasn't any new content, and the story lacked true traces of the Nit's existence. That is to say, one needs to successfully survive and meet up with the leads team before they will be considered a true part of the story. He's still a side character? Like, he's still an NPC? He's still an NPC. They barely know each other. Yeah, I know. But they had such cool moments together, and I'm like, okay, that's a blood brother, you know? Like make him borrow the crew, you know? Like, make him join the Terror Club. That's just me being optimistic. That will make more pages appear. Klein made a preliminary guess as he walked to the door again and opened it. Did it succeed? Flowery bow-tie Jotson and company asked. Klein shook his head and said calmly, next up will be a long ritual. No one is to enter and disrupt otherwise it will lead to Edwina Edwards' disappearance forever or even her death. After informing them of the main point, he looked around and directly said, I suspect that one of you here might have problems. Everyone is to watch each other. Gormont and Bro Walsh instinctively wanted to retort out of habit when he suddenly saw the captain's cabin was empty. The Ned who had just entered was gone. Recalling the captain's disappearance and confirming that German Sprout was about to attempt to save her, after finding the cause of the problem, he nodded and said, I'll be in charge of this matter. So there you go, dude. And they will also monitor me. Klein didn't harp on the topic. He then turned to look at Anderson Hood, who was leaning against a wall. Come in. Anderson curled the right side of his mouth as he tisked. People not in the know might think I'm your subordinate? Your attitude is basically your role model for provokers. Was gonna trust the evil spirits, so not surprising. Yeah, you know what? That is not surprising. Yeah, you're right. You guys got me on that. I was like, yeah, she sounds pretty good. Yeah. Easy would not make it military. I definitely would be like, you know what? He's a good guy. Yeah, she's not that bad. Why not? It ain't that bad. Like, I'll trust him. Despite his grumblings, he straightened his back and opened his stride before entering the captain's cabin. All right. It's kind of funny though. Like, people might think I'm your subordinate. After closing the door and locking in, Klein turned to face Anderson. Are you interested in participating in a rare adventure? You might be able to fold the achievement of hunting a dragon. According to his observations over the past few days, he believes that Anderson Hood was a curious and adventurous hunter. He enjoyed learning about new things and experiencing novels of excitements. Anderson stared at Garensoro's face and sized him up seriously before smiling. Oh, I'm not interested. Oh, poor evil spirit. I like how you put evil in all caps. They killed thousands of people with her corpses still in the view. Let's release him. Hey, it's been like 1,000 years, you know? Like, there has to be some repentance with the evil spirit, you know? Maybe they were just being possessed. Like, how am I supposed to judge that, you know? How am I supposed to judge that crime scene, you know? Following that, he chuckled before... Wait, I'm not interested. He firmly shook his head. Following that, he chuckled before Klein spoke again. I smell danger. A highly conceited, crazy, and powerful adventurer is actually inviting me to adventure together. What does this imply? It means that it's extremely troublesome and dangerous. I thought you would be interested. This is different from how you usually act. You really can rein yourself in and let go of yourself, huh? I'll try another threat. If it doesn't work, I'll throw this fellow on a deserted island and let the golden dream sail off. What the fuck? We'll pick him up later. Okay, we'll pick him up later. As a hunter, survival of a deserted island shouldn't be difficult for him. Klein quickly made up his mind and cast his gaze and immediately turned cold. He looked at Anderson and said, I will not permit having latent risks around myself. Anderson was stunned for a second before he quickly smiled. Huh? It was just a joke, bro. Chill. I'm very interested in the title of Dragon Hunter. Like, all right. You changed your mind way too quickly. If you had insisted a little longer, you could have enjoyed the feeling of being abandoned. Klein nodded, walked back to the desk, and said to Anderson Hood, who had flown behind him, smear your blood on the book cover. There's no need for too much. Smear it. Anderson scrutinized GROSELLE'S travels out of curiosity before surveying the area. Edwina's disappeared is related to it. Same for that failure of a hunter's... That's so fucked up. Same for that failure of a hunter's disappearance. Ah, right. Blazing the Nits. I nearly forgot his name. Thankfully, his bounty is a bit higher than before. That's mean. The corner of Klein's mouth twitched as he replied frankly. That's right. Interesting. Anderson glanced at the desk, picked up the bronze dagger, and indifferently sliced open a bleeding gash in his hand. Right on his heels of that, he carefully put the dagger and smeared the blood of the dark brown cover of GROSELLE'S travels. After a few seconds of observation, just as Anderson was about to pick up the bronze dagger and wipe off the remnant blood on it, his vision was suddenly blanketed by a blizzard. Seeing Anderson disappear just like the Nits, Klein picked up another piece of paper and wiped away the blood on the dagger before folding it and putting it into his pocket. He wasn't sure if the trio would appear at the same they might not appear at the same spot. He wasn't sure if the trio would appear at the same location after entering the world inside the book, and therefore he made preparations by having materials needed by the dowsing rod seeking. Oh, to find them. After doing all this, Klein held the dagger and streaked it across the back. I forgot he has that, the dowsing rod seeking ritual. His facial muscles twitched as he looked diagonally downwards. Only after a few seconds he didn't exert strength. His body shook slightly as his head turned to the side. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but open. When the blood flowed out, Klein, who was still holding the dagger, grabbed his cane and quickly smeared the red liquid over the ancient book's cover. After a short delay, Klein found himself amidst a white land of snow. Literally Inception, dude. That's crazy. It's not like Inception. It's like when you enter Winnie the Pooh's book in Kingdom Hearts 2. When you're in not Traverse Town, but in Kingdom Hearts 2 when Sora goes in Winnie the Pooh's book. That's literally what it is. I wouldn't be shocked if Cuttlefish has played Kingdom Hearts 2 and like, you know what? That's a pretty cool part. I want to make that into stories. Jumanji? I don't know why I'm thinking of Kingdom Hearts. It's literally Jumanji. Wow, careful, Geeky. Don't say that. What? Say what? That he entered like Winnie the Pooh's book, like in Kingdom Hearts, or the Jumanji part? Well, you know what? Yes. To be more precise, it's like Jumanji. Wait, no. Hold up. Hold up. You can call me a boomer. I've only seen the original Jumanji. I've never seen the new Jumanji. And the original Jumanji, they come to the real world. I think in the new Jumanji, they go into the board game, I think. Or is it like a video game? He can just take them? All right, let's keep reading. Wait, so it's not exactly like in Kingdom Hearts, right? It's more like in Jumanji, right? It's kind of like how in Jumanji, well, not in the old Jumanji, in the new Jumanji, where they go into the board game. Got it. Chapter 695 is called Stark Contrast. Gales with icy fragments and goose feather. Are we recording? Yes, we are recording. Gales with icy fragments and goose feather-sized snowflakes blasted at Klein's face repeatedly. As he surveyed his surroundings, he couldn't help but tense up. He bent over slightly as he trembled. How could he? Nearly cursed as he confirmed that he was in a land of ice and snow, which was extremely low visibility. He originally imagined the most coldness of Backland's winter was terrifying, but he now knew the absolute low temperatures and strong winds that were as sharp as blades. Are you in the lawyer pathway? He originally imagined the most coldness of Backland's winter was terrifying, but now he knew the absolute low temperatures and strong winds that were as sharp as blades. I updated this part, right? Yes. Low blades as deadly combination. Even though he had worn an additional sweater ahead of time and his coat was thick and long, he still couldn't withstand the chill. He didn't wear sun brooch because the heat generated from this was psychological. Oh, it's a psychological. Yeah, I forget about that. It doesn't like physically like make you hot. You're just psychological. It could be used to resist the influence of the intense chill for a short period of time, preventing his body from turning numb. But faced with an everlasting icy environment, it was equivalent to suicide. Heat at the psychological level made one's pores open up as it was in summer. It would peel off the final layer of defense against the low temperatures, and it would even proactively welcome it. Ugh. No, I know, I saw that. No, I've been reading up on it, Milosh. I know, I was going to play the new event quest today, at least for the Palico. It's like a new Palico skin, so I was going to do that. I was going to do it off stream. Therefore, he climbed through the mystical item above the gray fog. I know, when title update 2 comes out for Monster Hunter Wilds, I was going to play that, like, all day. So, we'll probably stream that. I know it won't be the usual LOTM, but we'll probably do that. Oh, wait, no. On the 26th? Oh, wait, okay, it's 2 days before. Okay, thank God. Therefore, he climbed through the mystical item above the gray fog. He planned on using it only on certain special occasions. He couldn't afford to delay while in such harsh environments. After preliminary observation of his surroundings, he merely burned the blood and bronze dagger and stuffed it into his pocket. Following that, Klein took out the adventurer's harmonica and blew it into it. For the messenger? Amidst the howling winds, he failed to discover the appearance of Miss Messenger, Teneker? Or Renette? Through the spirit vision he activated. Instead, the place isn't connected to the spirit world, or it should be said that this place has a unique spirit world for itself. From the looks of it, praying to the sea god would be useless. Only charms that point to the mysterious space above the gray fog would tear through the barrier. Renette? Oh, the trailer comes out? Thank you, Milosh. Okay, so the trailer comes out on the 26th. Yeah, all I know is update comes out at the end of the month, right? Hopefully it's not the same day as the Dunghua, so we'll see what happens. Here comes the problem. As a believer of the God of knowledge and wisdom, Edwina knows the true God's honorific name. Why didn't she seek his help, or did she try to no avail? Yes, not even deity with personality replied to their believers. Many a times, they seem to provide feedback based on certain laws. You probably can't find a second secret existence like me who takes on jobs like myself. Klein gave a self-deprecating laugh and made a preliminary judgment. Yeah, and no other secret existence does it like Klein. He then put away his harmonica, took out the paper slip with Nit's blood, and wrapped it at the end of his cane. The Nit's location. Klein softly said as he began using his dowsing rod seeking. Then, according to the outcome, he traversed across the thick snow, and he quickly tore through the frosty winds under the gloomy sky. From time to time, he would carry out a divination and adjust his bearings. After all, the Nits wouldn't wait in his original spot, and he would end up as an ice sculpture by doing so. About 10 minutes later, Klein discovered a scarlet flame. Phew. He exhaled before taking a few steps forward to identify his target. It was indeed the Nits. The famous pirate wore rather thin clothes. He wrapped his armrests around himself as he walked forward with a lost expression. However, he didn't seem to be that cold. This was because scarlet fire ravens were circling around him. They were boiling the snow and blocking out the winds, bringing about a spring-like warmth. In such times, Klein especially admired a pyromaniac. Although a magician had the same ability to summon flames, it was an offensive ability that couldn't be maintained. It could only be used for a split moment. So you can't use it to like heat yourself up. To rely on it to warm himself, he needed to constantly cast it, tiring himself out quickly. As for the flame controlling, independent on existing flaming or ignitable materials, both of them were extremely lacking in the world of ice. As you saw, and I thought he was going to be like really good for this icy world, but probably not. I was like, oh, just all his abilities are going to be helpful. As he saw the fire raven soaring in the air, Klein spread up his pace as he approached. The Nitz jumped in fright when he sensed someone approaching. When he saw the newcomer he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then with an odd expression, he forced a smile. How there's no stars to be seen here. Getting lost is inevitable. Klein ignored what he said as he directly asked, have you burned it? I did. The Nitz hurriedly nodded. He entered, his entire being infused with indescribable fear. Klein observed the Nitz for a few seconds, and after consuming that, he wasn't lying, produced a polite smile of Germansprout. Remember, chanting his honorific name makes you his believer. The Nick's expression twisted as he forced a smile, which looked worse than crying. I don't want to change my faith. I have no intention of believing in an unknown existence of dubious origins. Dubious. He inwardly roared crazily, but he didn't say a word. He suspected that any retort he makes would lead him to being buried in the snow by the madman. Klein wore small that had hints of badness. He added with a calm tone, remember, keep it a secret. Once divulged, you and your captain will both die. What has this got to do with the captain? Dennis blurted out. Klein maintained his previous expression. He smiled at Dennis. Guess. Damn, that's fucking cold-blooded, dude. The Nitz gaped his mouth with a reason known. All he could do was give a hollow chuckle. Do I look like someone who can't keep secrets? Klein nodded as he took out a paper slip of Anderson's blood. He chuckled and said to the Nitz, believe in him, serve him. Perhaps one day you will become a blessed like me. When the time comes, your name will spread across the fire seas. You will be in no way inferior to a pirate admiral. As he spoke, he planned on adding a gesture as a fool's believer, but sadly he realized that he didn't have such a gesture. All he could do was console himself. A secret organization needs to be secret. Doing all these kinds of superficial actions is meaningless. Mr. Hangman was right. Guess? That was a little intimidating. No way inferior to a pirate admiral. The Nit's eyes suddenly lit up. Since I've already chanted the honorific names of the secret existence, there's really no way to avoid it from the mystical point of view. I might as well take this opportunity. He instantly had many thoughts, having even named his future child. If it wasn't for German Sparrow's persona, I would have directly said that you would have the reputation and strength that matches Vice Admiral Iceberg when the time comes. Of course, whether she likes it, you will be a whole other matter. According to my observations, you stand a little chance. The partner Edwina wishes to have is someone who can study and improve alongside her. Someone who can discuss all kinds of knowledge. Klein mumbled as using dowsing rod seeking again. Anderson Hood's location. He came into. The Nitz was first taking the bag before he asked in surprise, like, shit, why is he here? Klein finished chanting a statement, releasing his cane, and determined the direction in which it fell. He then nodded and said, I'm worried if he stays outside, so you're also wary of Anderson Hood. The Nitz couldn't hide a smile as he echoed, that's right, he is the kind of person who smiles on the surface but will stab you in the back once you turn around. His reputation to Foxy is terrible. There are no pirates that like him. He even deliberately tried to sully you, making us be wary of you to view you with animosity. If pirates were to like him, it would only mean that his title as strongest hunter isn't substantial. I heard Anderson's provocations. Klein didn't reply. He picked up his cane and proceeded through the blizzard. The Nitz followed closely behind, using fire ravens to scatter the snow and block out the cold, so that they didn't need to freeze. Not bad, quite sensible. At that moment, Klein once again experienced the benefits of having a servant, to have someone hold an umbrella during a rainy day and someone to provide warmth in a blizzard. In the white vastness, the two appeared like black dots treading through the snow. They produced forward for nearly 20 minutes before arriving at the location when dowsing pointed to. He isn't here. The Nitz surveyed the area and failed to find any traces of Anderson Hood. He didn't have any doubts about German Sparrow dowsing route seeking because he was the last person to find it. He was the last person to be found with it. Klein frowned as he activated his spirit vision and enhanced his spiritual perception. Suddenly, he sensed something. He probed forward with his cane, causing the snow in front of him to collapse. The collapse revealed a cave. Inside it were dark rocks that were reflecting the light of a fire. Klein crouched down, and Edwina? Or Anderson. Klein crouched down. In his vision, he discovered that the cave had extended into a narrow passage, and at the end of the passage was a bunch of glowing red rocks. Strange underground plants were slowly burning as Anderson Hood... Strange underground plants were slowly burning as Anderson Hood sat. Every time I see plants, now I'm thinking of Planter and like the mother tree, man. Ugh. Sat beside it, he was leisurely roasting an animal that resembled a rabbit. The fragrance of the fats and the warmth it brought was emanated out, drilling into Klein's and Denit's noses. You guys are finally here. Want to give it a try. There's actually a strange rabbit around here that can live in such an ice and snow. Anderson bent down, looked towards the entrance as though he was greeting companions on a camping trip with him. Although he didn't say anything provocative, I really wished to beat him up. Klein entered the cave with a stoic expression. He came close to the fire and experienced the long-awaited bliss. The Nits followed in tow. He looked at the fire, which was roasting a rabbit, and then at the fire ravens beside him before silently dispelling them. How did you find this cave? The Nits asked in disgruntlement, unwilling to admit his inferiority, but his body betrayed him by leaning close to the fire. Nah, Edwina X Anderson, that's crazy, dude. Dali X Dunn is the only ship that shall sail. It is. I believe that. What is your ship? Audrey X Klein, Edwina X Klein, or something else? I'll tell you right now. Here, after this page, I will tell you. I will tell you after this page. I will tell you. I will tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now after this page. You guys are finally here. Wait. Although he didn't say anything provocative, I really wish to beat him up. Klein entered the cave with a stoic expression. He came close to the fire and expended the long-awaited bliss. The Nits followed in tow. He looked at the fire, which was roasting a rabbit, and the fire ravens beside him before silently dispelling. How did you find this cave? The Nits asked in disgruntlement, unwilling to admit his inferiority, but his body betrayed him by leaning closer to the fire. Anderson turned the rabbit, which was impaled with his pitch-black sword as he shot the Nits a glance. First lesson of being a hunter: observe your surroundings, be familiar with surroundings, make use of your surroundings. The Nit's expression immediately froze. Anderson looked at Gurman Sparrow and chuckled. It's a cave I blasted. He blasted the cave open? It's a cave I blasted open. How is it? It's not bad, right? I controlled my strength perfectly. As he spoke, he took a whiff of the air and said, how fragrant. The roasting seems to be done. Do you want to give it a try? Although I didn't bring any spices. There are rock salts here. It would just be a little astringent. Are you sure you can eat this? If it's a beyond creature, you might lose control with just one bite, the Nit said with a tisk. Anderson glanced at him. Second lessons of being a hunter: distinguish what can and cannot be eaten in the wilderness. He carefully reached out of his hand, pulled off a leg, and stuffed it into his mouth as he ate it with relish. Klein was just about to say something when he suddenly felt a wanton aura approach from afar. The suppressive feeling that came from a high-leveled creature appeared extremely real. It made the Nits tremble uncontrollably. The aura swept across them without noticing the strangeness of the cave beneath it. It quickly departed. King of the North, the title flashed across Klein's mind. You know what this is kind of reminding me of? I know I've only read 7 chapters, but it reminds me of the setup in the snowstorm and Shadow Slave. And then they like run into like all those crazy like creatures. It kind of reminds me of that first nightmare in Shadow Slave. I know I shouldn't, I know I can't comment on that because I've only read up until that point, but it kind of reminds me of that. It's pretty cool. All right, but let's keep reading. Whoa, wait. Let me quickly tell you guys my ships, my ideas that I think my ship sail. Before we continue. Wait, what was the spoiler? That's why I deleted it. We back, boys. We back. All right. Sharon is such a W. Yes. Man versus Wild with Anderson Hood. Oh, wait. Astringent equals sharp flavor like overstepping tea. Overstepping tea. Thank you, username. Dry flavor. Don't talk about SS. They're about to give up. Don't give them hope again. I know, I'm sorry. It can't be. I fear the corruption the easy ship will bring. No. Look, first of all. Okay, first let me talk about Gurman Sparrow before I mention Klein, because I don't know if this is going to happen. I feel like it's very on the nose. Very subtly. Hell no, I'm not going to try to correct that. Wait, did I say something bad? Someone rip apart usernames for... First of all, I think Gurman Sparrow is going to pull all the baddies, alright? Gurman Sparrow can easily get all the female admirals. He can pull Edwina. He can pull Catalia. And he can pull... Oh my god, I forgot her name. The one with the whip. Who was the one with the whip? Shit, man. Who was the one with the whip? You remember the pic? Yeah, hell yeah, brother. That's why I'm remembering the picture. I think he can pull in all 3 admirals, even that demoness, man. I think Gurman can do it. Tracy... Vice Admiral Ailment Tracy. That's why I couldn't remember it. Vice Admiral Ailment Tracy. I think he could do it. They had such good chemistry when like she took out the whip and she was like, "What's your punishment, Gurman?" And she was like, "Oh, well, I mean, I know he was being disguised as Helene. I'm just saying, it was getting a little spicy. It was getting a little spicy. So I can see all that happening. Now, on a realistic point, for a minute, I thought maybe Klein was going to have chemistry with Force because they were going to have, like, their own meetings, like, once a month. Bro, you see chemistry everywhere you look? It's true. There's a lot. There is a lot of chemistry. You blink twice if you hear me. Well, look, for a second, I thought Klein X4s was going to be a thing because they have, like, they were going to have their own personal meetings once a month running the full Blood Moon. But here's the thing. Cuttlefish has not written any of those personal moments where they're one-on-one during a Blood Moon. Like, he hasn't had those moments. I think they've only had, like, maybe 2 or 3 conversations, and there's been several Blood Moons since, right? Even with the chemistry is not there, you see it. Even when there is no chemistry, you see it. Well, like, here's the thing. Because that's not likely to happen, I can maybe see 2 other people. One might, I don't know if one is weird. Maybe, I don't know. I can see him being with Sharon because we need Sharon X Moriarty ship. Look, I can see Klein being with Sharon because she's starting to open up more and more to him. Not like as a partner, but like as a friend, a companion. There's no romancing tag novel. I know there's no romancing novel in the tag. Now the world needs justice. Now here's the other thing. I don't know if this is gonna happen. What I think might happen is I don't necessarily think Klein is gonna say yes, but I can see the story coming to a point where Audrey starts getting feelings for Klein when she pieces together after she's a high sequence beyonder that, oh, Sherlock Moriarty, Klein Moretti. Oh wait, Klein Moretti is the fool. I can like see that happening because there's so many moments where Audrey is like, she's like mesmerized and she's not in love with Klein, but she's in love with the idea of like being a believer of the fool. So like in some crazy twist of event, like who knows if there's like a time skip like towards the end of the series, I can see like something happening where I don't want to recheck because I know messages were unset right now just to be safe. There's a point where she's like, oh my god, this and that of the fool, right? Like that happened, and I'm like, okay, hold up now. And then like Klein has only had personal conversations with Audrey as the fool, and then she's like, oh my god, he's talking to me, this and that. And like I can see that kind of happening where like at like once she hits like high sequence, like once she's a high sequence and she has like really good like deduction skills and whatnot, she can like actually see through the gray fog and not get the crazy true creator ravings. And then we will send you to the shadow realm. Don't worry, I won't say anything if there was any spoilers, but I can see something like that happening in some way, shape, or form. Like Audrey or Sharon, like one of those two might happen. Do I necessarily want romance in this series? No, but I'm not against it. No, stop, please. Yeah, we're gonna stop stalling because I know there was a few messages that were timed out. So I don't know. That's people confirming or denying, or like denying. It's also denying is a spoiler. Confirming is a spoiler. So we'll leave it at that. We're just gonna quick tangent to chapter 696. It's called Giant Guardian. All right, next chapter, chapter 696, Giant Guardian. As the tyrannical aura flew past high in the sky, Anderson chewing came to a sudden halt. It was only when the entity was a distance away that he swallowed the remaining rabbit meat. He looked up at German Sparrow. That was the dragon you were talking about. Klein nodded solidly, confirming Anderson's guess. The corners of Anderson's mouth slowly curled up, revealing, and I need to reveal that. Make sure everything's updated. Yes, everything is updated. The corners of Anderson's mouth slowly curled up, revealing an expression as though he was at a loss on whether to laugh or cry. I thought you were talking about a mature or adolescent dragon. That one, the one that just flew past. I probably won't be able to become a dragon hunter. Dragon feces, perhaps? Oh, because it was huge. The tyrannical feeling that the King of the North exudes is indeed a little terrifying. Compared to the pieced-together monster which made his hair grow without restraining on the future, it's a lot stronger. Perhaps it's a sequence 4? At the level of a demigod? Nice. Nice. I just read that. I just realized that. 69. Nice. It's a new milestone. It's a new milestone. Klein calmly made a judgment without revealing any hints of panic or horror. He clearly remembered that GROSELLE'S travels had clearly indicated that the female pirate had managed to succeed in escaping from the King of the North's attacks before meeting up with a team led by the main lead GROSELLE. And Edwina Edwards clearly wasn't demigod. She was a sequence 5 of the reader pathway. Furthermore, sequence 5 of the reader pathway. Furthermore, she was suddenly swallowed by the book. Certain mystical items and sealed artifacts that she didn't permanently keep on her person was left in the captain's cabin. The tools she had were useful to her were probably limited to 1 or 2. Under such a situation, she was able to defend against the King of the North and survive, having just advanced to having adjusted to his inventory. Klein believed that it wouldn't phase him too much. Furthermore, he was still connected to the Great Fog. He could use the Sea God Scepter to produce a response. No way he's going to kill a dragon. This was also why Klein dared to enter directly after confirming that the Nits was in an ordinary state during the prayer. Yes, the King of the North doesn't seem like a demigod from a normal pathway. According to the Vice Admiral Iceberg, it's a rampager who gathers frost-related beyonder characteristics, and it can match a demigod in certain domains, but would have flaws in other aspects. Edwina Anderson and me, along with the Beyonder of the main leads team, we wouldn't be helpless. All else fails, I can still use Sea God Scepter. I don't believe that this book can defend against items above the Great Fog. If it could, it would have shown it long ago. Standing beside the fire, Klein looked. I guess that's a good deduction. Becoming dragon feces because he's gonna get eaten. It's gonna be bad, dude. And like, they ain't no match. It's like, this shit is way too big. Standing beside the fire, Klein looked down at Anderson and grinned. Are you afraid? Anderson was taken aback and he merely beamed. No, not at all. You seem to be very confident. After saying that, he looked at the Nits, he's still trembling and trying hard to compose himself before tisking. Do you know what the most important thing for a man? The Nits has just taken a deep breath. He was stunned by what he had heard, and he held his right index finger and middle finger together. He pointed at his crotch with uncertainty. Anderson blinked before he roared with laughter. Bastard, you really are a crude pirate. I wanted to say something, but I can't remember it. All right, I wanted to say courage. Courage is the most important thing for man. Look at you. I don't know about that. The dragon has an even tag, and you're almost hugging your head and begging for mercy. The Nit's face instantly flushed red as he glared at Anderson. You weren't acting like that back at Tuscarter. Klein couldn't help but lampoon. Oh, this is a long chapter. This one's a little bit longer than the other ones. Yeah. The nuts was just about to make it clear that he was only influenced by the high-level creature when he suddenly recalled what was just said. His expression was immediately restored to normal as he casually replied, I can't compare with the dragon feces at all. Anderson's smiles froze as he coughtfully lighted. As though nothing had happened, he yanked off a rabbit's leg and handed it over to German Sparrow. Want to bite? Klein remained silent for a few seconds before he slowly shook his head. This is a strange world. Before confirming that there aren't any problems, it's best to not eat anything here. Perhaps it might be a piece of rabbit meat that will make you stay here forever. Anderson moved the roasted rabbit leg with his nose before slowly putting it down. Following that, his face collapsed. Why didn't you say so earlier? Klein calmly replied, I just thought of this problem. Anderson's expression turned twisted as he lowered his head. He quickly bit down on the roasted rabbit leg. Aren't you afraid that something really bad will happen? The strongest hunter actions alarmed the Nits. Anderson laughed hopelessly. I've always entered one earlier. I've already digested it by now. Since there's no way of turning back, I might as well focus on enjoying it. Klein and the Nits were momentarily at a loss for words. After Anderson finished gnawing on the rabbit's leg, he deliberated and asked, are you really not eating? We have no idea how much time we'll be spending here. If we really do starve, how are we supposed to fight the dragon? Klein didn't reply. He took out his golden pocket watch and opened it. It's 6:10 in the evening outside. Wait a little after 4 to 6 hours if nothing happens to you. If nothing happens to you, Anderson turned to gape speechless. Klein ignored him and turned to the Nits. 15 minutes break. We'll search for your captain after that. After he said that, he had already taken out the pearl earrings belonging to Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwinos. Alright, the Nits suddenly felt bumped with blood boiling, completely forgetting the cold outside. But after about 8 seconds, he huddled close the fire. Around 7 in the evening, outside world, Klein pressed on his hat and held his cane. Together with the Nits and Anderson, he followed the revelation provided by his divination and found their way to a mountain. After circling the boulders, which were encasing in thick layers of ice, they saw a dark mountain cave. Standing by the entrance was a woman holding an ancient book. The woman had a head of soft, lustrous black hair, which had simply tied into a pigtail. Her facial features were soft, making her look different from any national of the northern continent. You know what would be a crazy twist of events? Best place to stop is 7:02. I'll see if I can get to it. I'll try and get to it. Yeah, I'll see if I can get to it in the next 2.5 hours. I think we'll be good. Now, what will be really coincidental is, I know we're inside the book, but what would be crazy is if inside this book, this is a book representation of the Hornicus mountain range. I feel like that will be very coincidental, right? Very convenient, since we're at the very tail end of Volume 3. This is kind of like Act 3 build-up. I think this would be a pretty crazy twist of events. But let's keep reading. After circling the boulders, which was encased in thick layers of ice, they saw a dark mountain cave. Standing by the entrance was a woman holding an ancient bow. The woman had a head, soft, lustrous black hair, which had simply tied into a pigtail. Her facial features were soft, making her look different from any... Oh my, I almost disconnected my power cable. Making her look different from any national of the northern continent. She wore a brown ancient-styled hunter coat and trousers. She actually cast her gaze over. Upon seeing her slightly sharp eyes, Klein immediately guessed her identity for matching her to the continent Groselle's travels. She was a female elf who got... Oh shit, this is our first time meeting an elf. She was like an actual elf. I know in Banshee Harbor, like, there's like those headless elves-looking things, but like... Well, it is like, now this is like the first like typical female elf you see depicted in fantasy. She was a female elf who got to know the giant Groselle at the very beginning. Her name was unknown. Compared to Earth, people from the northern continent look more Caucasian, but this elf has more of an orientational charm. Klein quickly concluded this particular trait. An elf. She's identical to the elves drawn in the ancient church drawings. Anderson suddenly became excited. I have to negotiate with her to get her to be my model so that I can draw a few portraits of her. By the side, the knit scoffed. He mocked in a succinct manner. Boorish. Damn, that's kind of mean. Damn. Clearly, he hadn't forgotten Anderson's previous mockery. Do you only know of that kind of drawing? Anderson shot a glance at him, sped up, and walked towards the female elf. Just as he approached, the female elf didn't hesitate to raise her... The music sounds really loud for you guys. Let me lower it. Just as he approached, the female elf didn't hesitate to raise her bow. The arrow strung as it shimmered with silver lightning. Wait, Anderson immediately raised his hands. It's useless. The elves mostly belong to the storm pathway. They are prone to being irascible and rash. Klein secretly activated his spirit vision threads, planning to achieve initial control over the elf in order to let her listen calmly. At this, like you give her sluggish thoughts and she can listen a bit. At this moment, Anderson saw a blur before seeing two thick, huge, muscular, grayish-blue legs. Embedded in the snow was a huge, terrifying sword. Anderson was horrified to realize that his height only reached the legs' knees. He instinctively followed the sword and looked up bit by bit. With his head almost completely facing upwards, he finally saw the giant, who was nearly 4 meters tall. Oh my god, we're finally meeting giants. The giant's skin was grayish-blue. His abdomen and waist was covered in thick, furry beast hide, leaving him naked everywhere else. Even his legs lacked protection. This is sick, dude. Oh shit, this is sick. He pounded on the sword, which was wider than the human's order, and using his trademark signal of vertical eyes to look at Anderson and Klein, and the knits asked with a bombarding voice, "Who are you? Is this... That has to be Groselle, no? Why are you here in the Groselle's camp?" Klein was just about to reply when a familiar figure suddenly walked out from the dark mountain cave. The knit's eyes were instantly filled with ecstasy. Dressed in a complicated shirt and dark-colored trousers, Edwina swept her gaze across the trail. Her usually cold expression revealed a rather flabbergasted look, as though she hadn't expected to see Grimsborough and Anderson Hood here. She quickly composed herself and looked up at the giant. Groselle, they are my companions? Groselle widened his huge mouth in a grin and asked in delight, "Are you also here to help deal with Ulyssian?" Klein was momentarily left at a loss for an answer. At that moment, he saw Edwina, who was standing in the giant's shadow, gave him a look. She wanted him to give an affirmative answer. If Valley only reaches the knees, then Groselle must have to at least... No, it said 4 meters, right? That's like 12 feet or over 12 feet? Fucking huge, dude. And I assume when we kill the dragon and like we finish the book and that the bridge opens, all of them can escape to the real world. So like Groselle, unless Groselle dies, like Groselle, Edwina, like everybody else that's still alive within the book, they'll be able to escape. And since it's a book, a lot of time isn't necessarily like I assume time flows differently within the book and the outside world. Like for them, like the inside the book, like a day is probably like a seconds for them, right? That's why they're probably all still alive. Uzlasa Klein was momentarily left at a loss for an answer. At that moment, he saw Edwina, who was standing in the giant's shadows, give him a look. She wanted him to give an affirmative answer. Uzlan is the king of the north? Klein replied in thought, yes. Oof, it's always going to be a happy ending. Then we are friends. Groselle looked down at the trio and laughed. As he spoke, Anderson suddenly retreated back to Germansboro's side, and he said with under his breath, "This is the first time I'm meeting a living giant. There's no way of hitting his vital spots. He's just too tall," is the first thing that comes to his mind. Like, I can't hit him. You can hit the legs. Klein Lampoon and calmly replied, "A huge target makes it easy to strike them." True. That's right. Anderson agreed. At that moment, Edwina walked over and introduced the three of them. This is the leader of the camp, Giant Guardian Groselle. Oh, I thought Giant Guardian was a dragon. No, but it's referencing Groselle. Giant Guardian Groselle. This is the Elven Songster Syatis. Elven Songster, Ocean Songster. Klein suddenly felt that there was hope for Mr. Hangman's potion formula. So Klein asks the Elven Songster for the potion, and then he gives that to Olger. For Elven Songster, Ocean Songster. Klein suddenly felt that there was hope for Mr. Hangman's potion formula. Edwina turned halfway around and said to Groselle's Syatis, "There are many companions, the strongest adventurer, German Sparrow, treasure hunter Anderson Hood, and renowned sailor, the Nitz. I always thought Vice Admiral Iceberg was a serious type who never lied. Renowned sailor, ha. In a certain way, that's true." Klein took off his hat and gave it a serious bow. Anderson followed suit in a rather casual and professional manner, reeling in delight that his captain had introduced him as a companion instead of a subordinate. The Nitz was slower than the others as he acted in the fluster. Groselle laughed. "Come on in. We will be fighting that evil dragon, Uzlan, at any moment now. How warm and amicable, but be it the church's canons or the myths of the City of Silver, giants are extremely violent creatures who have a strong desire for destruction. Yes, anything is possible in a book. It all depends on whether the author can make everything flow nicely." It's a little on the nose, right? Right, Cuttlefish? Ocean Songster is sequence 506. No, I know. No, I know that. I know for Olger. Ocean Songster. No, I know that. I do know that. No, it's okay. And he was going to exchange. He was going to ask the elf for the Ocean Songster potion formula. No, I know that. The Nitz is now he's in the companion zone. Come on in. We'll be finding the evil dragon Uzlan at any moment. How warm and amicable. Be it the Church of the Cancer or the Mist of the City of Silver, giants are extremely violent creatures who have a strong desire for destruction. Yes, anything is possible in the book. It all depends on whether the author can make everything flow nicely. Klein nodded slightly as he followed Groselle into the spacious caves. When Edwina saw this, she approached the trio without showing any signs of abnormal behavior, as though she was leading the way. She whispered, "The history that they speak of is a little odd. Same for the language. Regardless of the language they speak, all of us can understand it." Oh, that was the end of the chapter. All right, 697. Oh, dude, I would not be surprised. I'm telling you. This is how it's going to go. We save Edwina, and Edwina's like, "Hey, German, you're pretty crazy. Can I invite you out for some coffee?" And I'll be like, "Whoa." And then that's when Element Tracy walks in, like, whoa. I was going to ask him out for some coffee because he's so cool. And then Cat Leah walks in like, whoa. I wanted to ask him out for some brunch. And then German's like, "Why don't we all go out for some coffee and brunch together?" Yo, what's up, man? Thank you for joining, Ten. All right, chapter 697 is called Story's Progress. Story, on the nose. Cuttlefish is an author. Maybe he wrote the story, or maybe this has something to do with the quill. Author, story. What does it mean? Everyone can understand each other's regardless of the language used. Oh shit, just like when you're above the gray fog. Everyone can understand each other regardless of the language used. Klein shipped over Edwina's first sentence and focused his attention on the second sentence that didn't seem too problematic. Although this was the book world created by Groselle's travels, everything was possible, but there were certain details that still revealed problems. To Klein, he wasn't too... Or is it Groselle? Groselle's travels. To Klein, he wasn't too caught up with how they could understand each other, but the kind of method that resulted in comprehension. This world incorporates something akin to the rules of the language of comprehension, or does it have a consciousness residing high above everyone else, helping in real time translate translation work, just like what I do at the tarot gatherings? If it were for the former targets who understand, Jotun will only hear an unfamiliar language, but they would understand the meaning. If it were the latter, it would mean that hearing a language they're familiar with. As he knew many ancient and supernatural languages, Klein was unable to figure out the situation immediately. He slowed down his footsteps and walked alongside the Nitz. He asked while suppressing his voice, "Can you tell what language Groselle was using when he was speaking. The Nitz was taken aback for a second and recalled and said, "It's a language which sounds a little familiar yet unfamiliar, but I was unable to understand everything." Oh, that's trippy. Saliva. The supernatural languages he knew were ancient Herbies, followed by Elvish. He was only a beginner in Jotun. Yes, it's something like the rule of language comprehension. It's comprehension at the level of mind. I think I should congratulate you because you are saying GROSELLE'S name right. Oh, thank you. What do you mean? I've never have mispronounced a word in my life. Wait, are you joking? I am saying it right? GROSELLE? Like Roselle, but just with a G. GROSELLE? Yes, it's something like the rule of language comprehension. It's comprehension at the level of the mind. This means that the entire book world's fundamental rules can be different from the outside world. It's a setting that it comes with, but the changes don't seem capable of exceeding certain limits. The point remains suspect and requires verification. After all, I can't eliminate the existence of someone's like the fool, someone who completely interprets the communication via the mind. Edwina is indeed sharp and good at observing. The problem she discovered leads to straight to the book world's essence. Amidst his thoughts, Klein unhurriedly entered the huge dark cave. Don't lie to yourself. Wait, what happened? As for the history described by it is a pretty crazy theory people were saying about Pokemon. Like, oh, Ash was like in a coma from the very beginning when he fell off in the desert. I mean, in the forest during that storm. I was like, that's a pretty dark theory. As for the history described by the members of the main lead's team, he wasn't the least bit surprised. He even looked frowned to hearing the details. Klein long knew the various churches in northern continent's countries had constantly attempted to destroy or conceal information, or to hide the history of the fourth epoch, third epoch, and even the second epoch. What people knew as common knowledge actually differed from the people who used to live in those areas. This was also one of the reasons why Klein took on the risk to enter the book world. Inside the spacious and windy cave, a bonfire scattered in the light and its heat on three humanoid figures. One of them was a middle-aged man in an extremely Spartan white robe. He had wrinkles but didn't appear old. He had his back to the fire as he faced the stone wall with his eyes closed, focused on his prayers. He had short brown hair, and his shoulders, arms, calves, and feet were exposed, revealing all kinds of scars. Yo, what's up, man? Yo, really? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, dude. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited, dude. I'm liking this whole GROSELLE shit, dude. It's pretty cool. I love it, man. It's fun. It's like Inception, man. It's like you transmigrate while you've already transmigrated. It's like a dream within a dream. It's pretty cool. Beside him was a lad using a stone for a pillow. He donned a black, heavy, full-body armor, but his hands was erect black sword that emitted a cold, shimmering light. His facial features were rather deep, giving him clear, Lowen traits. Sitting opposite of the two was a man in his 30s who was dressed strangely. He gave people a sense of unease. He wore a sharp and hard black hat, and his coat's buttons were mismatched. It was messy and chaotic, highly asymmetric and unharmonious. In addition, the tips of the leather... Wait, what? In addition, the tips of his leather boots curled up high, making him look like a circus clown. A circus clown. This man had quite a handsome face. He had flaxen-colored hair, deep brown eyes, a high nose, and thin lips. Even those sat there, he gave off an arrogant feeling. Edwina pointed at him and said, "Solomon Empire's Viscount Mobet Zorost." Who? Solomon Empire's... Solomon Empire's Viscount I cannot pronounce these names, man. These are so hard. You better remember the shit. I'm trying, dude. So now we're like getting into the Solomon Empire. Okay. Shit, man. Oh my god. Zorost sounds familiar, doesn't it? It does. This was the emperor of the Solomon Empire. Zorost. Please let me join. Hipio. Yo, what's up, dude? This was the... From the No, it fucking isn't. Hold up. Wait. Unhinged? I remember that conversation. I remember saying I couldn't pronounce it, and you were like, oh, just think of Zoro ass. And I'm like, wait. Wait. Don't tell me. Give me a hint. Whoa, no, I lied. I haven't taken any notes on Volume 3. Who is it? Oh! Oh, shit, that was his fucking old... That was his name. That was his old name? Yeah, that was his fucking name. Wait. Was it? He's a poor grandpa? Fuck him. He's hiding for some reason. Yeah. Oh, shit. It's Lenard's parasite. No, Amon. Wait. No, what do you mean, Amon? No, it's Lenard's parasite. From the Zoroast family. Zoroast. You take that back? Zoroast. Man, these names are hard. We even know this guy's pathway. He's a parasite. Oh no, he is confused. Old Neo's father, Klein mentioned in volume 1. Fucking onions. He deleted that because they're like, yo, he's confusing you more. I'm assuming so, since nobody is disapproving. Enemies with the Amon dog. No, I know they're hiding from Amon. Yeah, no, the old man is hiding from Amon because he says he's hiding from him. They didn't send that message. Okay, I remember now. All right, hold up. I apologize. Look, man, it's been hard for me to take notes off stream, so comprehension double has struck again. I do apologize, man. You guys. Wait, here, let me reread that so I can be like, what? Oh, here we go. Pretend that didn't happen. Hold up. 10 out of 10 reading. Let's reread this again. We're gonna pretend this conversation never happened. The man, in addition to tips of his leather boots curled up high, making him look like a circus clown, the man had quite a handsome face. He had flaxen-colored hair, deep brown eyes, a high nose, and thin lips. Even though he sat there, he gave off an ancient, arrogant feeling. Edwina pointed at him and said, Solomon Empire's Viscount Mobet Zoroast. What? Wait, it's over. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not gonna fake that. Wait, no. So it's him. Name all the families in Solomon Empire. Amon family, Zaratul family, the Sauron family, Antigonus was not part of them. The music is not helping, man. It's oh shit. Wait. Oh shit. Wait. Hold up. The stream is buffering. On a serious note, my free time has been a little limited recently. So like when I end stream, I haven't had that much free time, and then like the free time I haven't been really dedicating it to updating notes. You know, I usually like, you know, there's just like IRL has been like hampering my ability from taking notes as in-depth as we did for volumes 1 and 2. So I do apologize for that. But the goal is to luckily just start doing notes as they happen after we're done with this volume. That way this doesn't happen again. And I do promise to, on the weekends, go through my notes. Like every Saturday or Sunday, I plan on going through my notes, like, and like just refreshing myself. I will make you guys that promise. I will do that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But after we do finish this volume, I do plan to like redoing all that again, just so I don't forget everything. Thieves and scammers. Oh, did that just happen right now? Really? Well, for now, we'll keep reading. Okay, you don't have to mince your words. Hello there. I'm a Sequence 5 Dream Stealer. I'm a Sequence 5 Dream Stealer of the Marauder Pathway, Mobet said with a chuckle. He acted like nothing arrogant he seemed to exude. Mobet? Dream? That's a new... No, I know. Don't worry. I know that's a new sequence name. I know that. Don't worry. That's a new sequence. So this is before Parasite. So it's Dream Stealer, and then after Dream Stealer, it's Parasite of the Marauder Pathway. Okay, that's cool. Mobet said with a chuckle. He acted like nothing arrogant. Wait, so... You can have, like, your book version live... What? Wait, how does that make any sense? So, he's being a parasite for Lenard currently in the real world, and then his current sequence... Oh, this is like a previous version of himself, because he's a Sequence 5 Dream Stealer, and then we know he's at least parasite level, so it's like an old memory of him. Oh, shit. It's not the same guy, bro? No, wait, what the fuck? Is it not? Oh, he said, oh, you don't have to mention words. Hello. Oh, this is the other. Okay, this. Oh, sorry, I did get lost because just same family. Okay, this guy's a different guy, just the same name. I thought it was the same fucking guy, guys. Holy shit. It's his descendant. I thought you guys were alluding to him being the same guy. No, Mobet is from the Zoroist family. Okay, so we know he's part of that family, but we don't know if he's Mobet or not. Okay, all right. I thought when you guys were telling me earlier, I thought he was the old man that's with Leonard right now. I thought that's what you guys were trying to tell me. It's not him himself. Okay, so it's not the angel himself. It's not like the sequence 4 and up demigod that's with him. Got it. It's somebody else. Got it. All right, sorry. It's just somebody from that family that's a sequence 5 that's a dream stealer. Okay. Okay. You don't have to. I thought it was going to be like some Tower of God shit where it's like the guy has like his younger version alive, and I forget what floor that was in like volume 2 of Tower of God. Okay, I thought it was kind of like that, so it's not like that. You don't have to mince your words. Hello there. I'm a sequence 5 dream stealer of the Marauder Pathway. Mobet said with a chuckle. He acted nothing like an arrogance he seemed to exude. A member of the text to speech.
A member of the Zoroast family.
Zoroast. I'll just say Zoroast. Zoroast. One more time.
A member of the Zoroast family.
Zoroast. You don't, man, streamers don't do it like I do it. When I fuck up, I fuck up. And it's bad. It's like an ugly train crash. But we will redeem ourselves. He is Mobet. He is from the same family of the old man. Got it. I thought you guys were alluding to him being the old man, but just like a younger version. Okay. Are you going to use him? It's okay. I'll have the VOD up right away. The angel parasiting Leonard's body is from this family. Perhaps they know each other, huh? I know the name of sequence 4 and sequence 5 of the Marauder Pathway, but I don't even know the corresponding sequence 6 and 7. Many thoughts... Now, is that intentional? Many thoughts flashed through Klein's mind as he maintained his stoic look. At that moment, Anderson warmly greeted him with a smile and asked, as though they were pals. To be frank, this is the first time I'm hearing of a dream stealer. I only know the Marauder and Swindler. There are 2 sequences, 9 and 8. So we're missing 7, 6, and we know 5, 4. There are 2 sequences in the middle I'm not aware of. Are the Beyonders of this pathway also so scarce? Doesn't Edwina know? Sequence 7, Crypthologist, and sequence 6, Prometheus. That's a good movie, by the way. Doesn't Edwina know? Sequence 7, Cryptologist, and Sequence 7, Prometheus. Huh? Let me do the introductions. Mobet, really? What would Prometheus be? Sequence 6, Prometheus? Let me do the introductions. Morbet warmly pointed to the praying man whose back was facing everyone. The pious, aesthetic snowman. He believed in the Lord that created everything, the omnipotent and omniscient God. Oh, here we go again. Here we go again. Don't mind him. He's completely sealed himself off in his beliefs, but in combat, he's a very reliable companion. Snowman, you should say something at the very least. Snowman. Mobet, who didn't receive a response, stroked his chin with a rueful smile. This is the treatment I often receive. You might find it hard to imagine that I was an arrogant, reserved, and refined nobleman. By the time he has changed everything, that happens when your companion is a giant who knows how to chuckle foolishly and shout slogans. When he said this, Grosel, who was sitting on a rock, smiled in a simple and good-natured manner. He raised his hands to scratch the back of his hand as a single vertical eye didn't show the ferocity and cruelness that giants were strongly rumored to have. Mobet shook his head and pointed at the ascetic snowman. As for him, he might not speak a single word for years or even a decade. Saites is a very violent woman. As long as there are any emotional stirrings in her, she'll beat me up. Sai, I'm as afraid of her now as I was infatuated over her back then. Therefore, I can only make conversation and speak to them. Otherwise, I'll definitely go mad. Thankfully, Frenzier came later. He's quite the conversationalist. Hey, Frenzier, wake up. We have new companions. All right, we got new companions. The sleeping black armor knight slowly woke up as he looked at Klein's company. Suddenly, there was a sound of metal striking with each other as he stood up. Staring at Klein, he said, Lowness. Yes, Klein nodded frankly. He discovered that this lone soldier who had gone missing for 165 years didn't look old. He had black hair and sharp blue eyes. He made one submit to him unknowingly. Frunzier appeared adrift for a moment as he quickly composed himself. Do you know of Backlund's Edward family? Backlund had many Edwards. Klein replied silently, the Edwina family that lived at 18 De La Hire Street in Northwest Borough. Franzier pressed anxiously. Klein shook his head. Northwest Borough no longer exists. Northwest Borough no longer exists. Franzier repeated those words as his voice grew softer. He fell silent for a few seconds before exhaling. I have no idea how many years has passed outside, but it should have been quite a while. Edwina told me the actual year, but I don't remember the year I entered. I was sleeping most of the time, and times here seemed to be frozen. Mobet Zoros chuckled upon hearing that. That's because you have bad luck. Back when we were passing through the city's villages, everything was perfect. Wait. It freezes? It's like they're in a time stasis? I was sleeping most of the time, and time here seems to be frozen. That's because you have bad luck. Back when we were passing through the cities and villages, everything was perfect. He looked at Klein, Anderson, and the Nits. Back then, we lived in places with humans, with intelligent races. We got married again and again, seeing our wives turn old, grow weak, and die. Hell, before a new member joins, we would forget our goals. We would lead ordinary but happy and relaxed lives for decades and centuries. The only con is that we aren't able to bear our own children. Later, Franzier came. We entered this region blanketed by ice and snow. We hunted many monsters, and gradually we began to fall into a slumber. We were seldom awake until we met Edwina. This means, so it's like whenever somebody joins, it resumes. This means that time in the book world flows normally. The story's progress is maintained by certain powers that influence the main lead's party. Okay, so when a person enters that's like strong enough to like progress the story, time resumes in the book. So that's why they're all relatively not old. Okay, before new members join and before the book's pages flip, they'll stop and say at certain nodes during other things. This is so it's like every time we reach a chapter in the story, time gets frozen until somebody else enters. This is similar to the intertranslation of languages at the mind level. Conversely, does this also mean that the towns and villages in the book would also develop normally? Yes, I have to quickly find the king of the north, Uzleon. Otherwise, with the passage of time, we might also experience the influence and fall into slumber and forget the main quest. We'll stay here for a long period of time until a new member swallow into the book and finds us. Klein fell silent for a few seconds just as he was about to say something. Edwina said, there's no need to worry about that problem. We will soon encounter the king of the north. Why? Anderson and Bobette asked in unison. Edwina surveyed the area, and before I entered and stuck the pages in the book, only had a few pages more. And now, with you entering and finding the camp, they definitely can't be many pages left. The story is about to come to an end. Mobet nodded indiscriminately in agreement with Edwina's judgment, and Anderson softly mumbled terms such as stuck. Edwina then introduced Klein, Anderson, and the Nits as she made an example of herself and sat down beside the bonfire. Klein took off his hat and held it with his cane. He slowly sat down and looked at Mobet Zorest, who was inclined in chat. Have you heard of the Tudor Empire and the Turnset Empire? He didn't beat around the bush and ask directly. That was German Sparrow's persona. No, Mobet shook his head. Edwina also asked me. Hey, in my area, the Tudors Turnsets were just like my Zoroast family, where aristocratic families of the Solomon Empire were loyal subjects of the Black Empire. A Black Emperor. So the Turnset and Tudor families were traitors of the Solomon Empire. Klein thought and said, apart from you, what other aristocratic families did the Solomon Empire have? Many Mobet similars also have Franzier, Augustus, Abraham. Wait, many. Mobet smiled as he looked at Franzier. Augustus, Abraham, Zaratul, etc. In my era, the Church of the Evernight Goddess arch nemesis were the Church of the Gods of. Oh, wow, I heard that's. I don't know if you guys caught that. I don't know if the mic picked that up. Evernight Goddess arch nemesis were the Church of the Gods of Combat in the southern continent. Iger's family, the churches of the Lords of Storms, eternal blazing sun, and the God of knowledge and wisdom were at odds with each other. It's hard to remember all this, like the ones that were at odds and the ones that teamed up, all of them hoping to gain the support of the Solomon Empire. He paused for 2 seconds as his expression gradually turned solemn. Back then, deities walked the land and not in the astral and why don't they walk now? That's what I want to know. Fifth King of Angel? We still don't even know the fourth one's name. No, I know Augustus, like Edward, like Edward Augustus. No, like I know Augustus was the ones from back then. Like Azik Eggers, Azik Iger. Oh, I'm not using text-to-speech for that one, by the way, because we had a text-to-speech was not working for that word. But yes, that family. Oh, like a Zik. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It's so early and I'm like, I can't fully comprehend what I'm reading right now. I apologize. I'm a little slower today. I'm a little slower today. I do apologize for that, Emily. My bad, not Angel Family. So now we're getting the 5th King of Angels, and we still don't know the name of the 4th King of Angel. I'm sorry, if we have the 8 Kings of Angels, there's no shot we don't have like the 8 Kings of Hell, right? Or like the 8 Kings of Demons or Devils. Because I know that's a thing, right? Like the 8 Kings of Hell it's like a thing. So I can see that maybe being a case, but maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no. All right, let's keep reading before I stall for too long. Chapter 698 is called 5th King of Angels. Deities walked the land and not in the asteroid. In the early 4th epoch, during the era of the Solomon Empire, there was no distinguishing between the worlds of myth and reality. Deities directly walked the land without the need for descent. This is somewhat similar to the 2nd epoch as written in the City of Silver's books. The Giant King's court and other locations are separated by a door in the real world. They just needed to pass through it and return to the same way. Mortals and deities mixed together in the chaos and darkness. Also, the astral world really does correspond to deities. After hearing Viscount Mobet Zoral's description, Klein instantly began connecting the dots. He subconsciously swept a glance at Groselle, and the giant was very likely someone who had experienced the history of the 2nd epoch. Groselle picked up a cup larger than a wooden bucket and gulped down some melted snow as he laughed. Mobet, what's there to be surprised about? Why are you so solemn? Solemn?
Why are you so solemn?
Solemn, right? I've no idea why I became so solemn either. Bit by bit, Mobet Zoroest revealed a smile. It might be something very normal for us, but in their eyes, it's terrifying and unbelievable. I have to use a suitable expression to describe it in order to achieve a satisfying result. Do you still remember Franzier's expression when we told him the stories in the very beginning? He almost knelt down to seek forgiveness with the Lords of Storms. Klein, Dnitz, and company were momentarily unsure of their expression of words they should use to respond. Anderson leaned over to German Sparrow and said with a suppressed voice, I think he has the talent to be a provoker. He appeared to be surprised. He appeared to be suppressing his voice, but his words could be heard by everyone present. Mobet didn't mind as he chuckled before continuing. I know that you aren't very convinced and find it unbearable that details walk the land. Just like Edwina's previous reaction, I can't give you 2 examples. The chasm of storms of Pazu Island and the Tembros Heavens and the Amantha Mountain Range were the divine kingdoms of the Lords of Storms and Evernight. They were divine... Oh my god. They were divine kingdoms located on land. They were divine kingdoms separated from the real world by a mere illusionary door. Pazu Island, isn't that where the holy altar of the Church of Storms end? Amantha Mountain Range. Amantha means serenity and Hermes. This refers to a holy cathedral, the Cathedral of Serenity. When the deities no longer walked the land, their kingdoms became the headquarters of their respective churches. Klein instinctively believed that Mobet Zoroast wasn't lying, as he used it to come to certain conclusions. Dnitz was puzzled and horrified by what he had heard. He subconsciously wanted to leave, but when he saw his captain listen attentively, German Sparrow, who was in thought, and Anderson Hood, who wore a look of interest on his face, he could only hold back his urge as he sought a better, more comfortable seating position. At that moment, the elven songster Sayatas, who was in charge of the perimeter, walked in and said with contempt, "Do not mention the fake god. The authority of the storm only belongs to the king of us elves." Her voice was clear and beautiful, but her tone was filled with anger and irascibility. It felt as though she would raise her hands at any moment to shoot an arrow at Mobet Zoroast. Alright, I will use the words fake god. Mobet raised his hands and adjusted his sharp and hard black hat. Sayatis retracted her gaze, since then said to be the former lone soldier, Frunziar Edward, who wasn't a staunch believer of the Lords of Storms, it's your turn. Frunziar raised his head a little, his expression in a trance-like state. Apparently, he hadn't noticed the conversation and argument from before. He drew the iron-black sword beside him and walked towards the cave entrance. Klein observed for a moment and took the opportunity to speak to the elf Sayatres. Oh, this is where he's getting the potion? Remove that nickname. Do you know the Queen of Calamity, Kohinim? He was actually sure if Kohinim was Elf King Sonathrin's subsidiary god. Do you know of Queen of Calamity Kohinim? He wasn't actually sure if Kohinim was the Elf King Sonathrim's subsidiary god, Queen of Calamity. His inquiry was for the elven songster Siatis to give him the answer. Sayata's gentle and exquisite face immediately produced a trance-like expression like Friend's ears. I haven't heard her name in a long time. She is the queen of us elves. Mobet and Frunzier didn't even know of her existence. Where did you encounter her? No, learn of her situation. As she spoke, Sayeta's tone became urgent. At that moment, the Nits looked at Gurmitspur in surprise, reflecting over the revelation that the madman was so knowledgeable. He was even able to share a common topic of interest with an elf from ancient times. I never expected you to be a scholar. I really couldn't tell. Couldn't tell that at all. Anderson sighed as he shook his head. Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina likewise cast her gaze at Klein. Her limpid blue eyes had a strong desire to learn from him. Okay. Klein answered frankly, I've once entered a ruin belonging to Queen of Calamity Kohanim and obtained some items. Ruin? Sinetis ruminated over the words in a soft voice, her tone having seemingly lost something unimportant, but something that she couldn't bear to part with. From the situation side, she might not be truly dead. After seeing Sayetta's eyes light up, Klein went straight to the point. Do you have the Ocean Songster potion formula? Can I use something to exchange for it? He felt that being honest and direct with Beyonder from the Storm Pathway was the best choice. Sayeta thought and said, use one of Her Highness's items for exchange. I only obtained a wine... Oh, the wine cup! Ruin, emotional damage? Well, I assume either her or someone she loved or someone she knew of was alive and it wasn't a ruin, right? But now it's like the ruins. He felt that being honest and direct with a Beyonder from the Storm Pathway was the best evidence. Sayeta thought and said, use one of Her Highness's items for exchange. I only obtained a wine cup made of gold. It's already been crushed flat. Complicated patterns are engraved on it. Of the elvish phrase Calamity and Kohanim, Klein didn't hide the truth. I know about that cup. It's the cup of Her Highness loved the most. Sayeta said, unable to hide her excitement. Deal. The cup is outside. Klein had no intention of heading above the gray fog in front of everyone. Sayeta nodded. I understand. We will complete the transaction after we leave this book. Having said that, she pressed her palms together. The storm will definitely belong to the elves. Before anyone spoke, she asked curiously, what else did you discover? What else did you discover there? Some murals depicted the Elf King battles in ancient god Sod. Klein shot a glance at the aesthetic snowman who believed in the lords that created everything, the omnipotent, omniscient god. Now the ruin implies the queen died. Well, yeah, it's like her. It's like the queen's ruins. Yeah, she's like GG, bro. Like it's over. But now she's like, ah, shit. Like okay, like that was her favorite. With his back still facing the right. That's what it's implying. Like it's. I mean, of course she's dead. It's been so long. With his back still, I was like, well, it's not. I was like, it's not explicitly said that she died, but yes, she is dead. Like it was such a long time ago. I'm still alive. With his back still facing the fire, the middle-aged man who was facing the stone wall finally opened his mouth. No, he isn't the sun god. He is our Lord, the Father of all things, the great source of everything. He wasn't battling the Elf King, but taking back the authority which belonged to him. Just as Snowman said that, Sayeta stood up and aimed her arrow at him. Suddenly, the elven songster plaited black hair flared up in violation of the laws of nature. The strands on her were distant, and they were all swirling with silver lightning, emitting a strange deep blue luster. Just as Sayeta was about to release the arrow, a huge grayish blue palm appeared before her, blocking the arrow tip without any fear of being stuck. It was the palm of the giant Griselle. One of the traits of this race was its exaggerated limbs. They were so long that it appeared a little distorted. Therefore, simply by sitting there, he could stop Sayatis by extending his arms. Alright, Snowman, cut it out. As you know, Sayatis is an elf who likes to put actions before words. Griselle said to the aesthetic before turning his head to the elven songster, Sayatis, we are companions who leave our backs to each other. We have experienced plenty of dangers together. You can retort Snowman and even beat him up, but do not attempt to harm him. As expected of the lead of the book, he's filled with positivity, but what's the difference in beating him and harming him? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Klein couldn't help but mumble. Sayatis grunted and sat back down, turning the mood heavily and silent with a leave of awkwardness. We don't know if subsidiary gods have limited lifespan still. Yeah, I mean... A subsidiary god. We know once you're a god, you have like prolonged longevity. But if it's a subsidiary god, I guess probably yes. It's up for debate. Yeah. Giant Griselle used his single vertical eye to survey the area before chuckling. Then I'll talk about my past. Before entering the book, I lived in a giant king's court. I was one of the guardians of the waning forest. It's somewhere only our king can enter. Rumor has it that buried inside it are his parents who also formed the origins of us giants. But Giant King's court is formed of many parts, and the waning forest is one of them. Buried in the most ancient ancestor of the giants, Klein listened attentively, only wishing to ask more. To him, this was more valuable than the fourth epoch's history. This was because the city of Silver's hope likely laid in the Giant King's court. Okay, so that might come back. However, before he opened his mouth, Edwina spoke before him. Groselle, what did the book look like when you received it? Groselle raised his hand to rub his cheeks. It had nothing, like an empty book waiting to be written. It was an empty book waiting to be written. I even thought that Groselle might be a completely fictional character in that book. Klein deliberated for a few seconds and didn't directly ask about the details of the Giant King's court. He turned to say to Mobet Zoroast, do you know of the blasphemer Amon? Oh shit, here we go. Blasphemer refers to an entire family of Amon. They are the arch nemesis of us Zoroasts. It's said that they have a very powerful and terrifying ancestor that even Oboris and Medici viewed with great importance. Like Amon, like the one we saw walking, like the Amon we've bumped into twice. They even feel fear towards him, but no one knows of his actual name. Wait. That's true. Amon would be his last name. They even feel fear. I didn't realize that. Yeah, what the fuck is his full name? They even feel fear towards him, but no one knows his actual name. Mobet introduced in detail. I'll empty your book. I'll pass for now. Groselle was where the Forsaken Lands of Gods is now. Did you catch that? What do you mean? What? Brothers and sisters, I caught myself. I know. Bro, and broess. I caught myself. Wait, I literally just said the Giant King's Court. The Giant King's Quarter is part of the city of Silver. Got it. Yes. Okay. It literally says it. Yeah, he was a guard there. Did it say he was a guard? Oh, guardian. Duh. Yeah, giant guardian Groselle. Got it. Yeah. To him, he was more valuable in the fourth epoch's history. This is because the city of Silver's hope likely laid in the Giant King's court. So that's him like confirming. So he was originally there at some point in time. It's so crazy how like it's all linked and we still don't know exactly what's the bridge or like how exactly it's happening. Like we know like now there's like possible ways for these rituals that Klein brought up earlier, like a stream or two ago, or was it 3 streams ago? But still, it's pretty cool. However, before he opened his mouth, Edwina spoke before him. Groselle, what did the book look like when you received it? Groselle, it had nothing, like an empty book waiting to be written. All right, let me read this part again. I lied. Ouroboros Medici, yes, but no one knows his actual name. Mobet introduced in detail. Ouroboros Medici, yes, back then the true creator and Rose Redemption supported the Solomon Empire. I forgot this happened. Klein's heart stirred as he immediately asked, then have you heard of the name Sasrir? Mobet was taken aback as he slowly shook his head. Never. Dark Angel Sasrir's name and title vanished after the cataclysm. It was buried. Klein confirmed a fact through this. At that moment, Snowman, who was facing the stone wall, said with deep voice, Sasir is a dark angel, the leader of the kings of angels, the one closest to the Lord? I was waiting for your answer. Klein cast his gaze on the ascetic and asked in a deep voice, apart from him, Ouroboros, Medici, and Amon, what other kings of angels... Wait. Apart from him, Ouroboros, Medici, and Amon, what other kings of angels are there? You don't have to say out all their names. Big reveal. So, wait, first of all, why is he the one closest to the Lord? Sasir is the dark angel, the leader of the kings of angels, the one closest to the Lord. Why the fuck would he be the closest? The dark angel. Maybe the fifth king and angel is like finally confirming Adam? Klein was afraid that it would result in unnecessary reactions, just like the Repenter in Afternoon Town. The one that just fucking combusted. Edwina, Anderson, and the Nits were lost from the very beginning. This was because the contents of the conversation between Gerben Spur and the few ancient figures were things they had never heard of. They found it unbelievable that this crazy adventurer knew so many secrets. After a few seconds of silence, Snowman said, there's also the... Holy fucking shit, it's Adam. There's also the angel of imagination, Adam. Just as he said his name, the entire cave shook. The familiar and crazy tyrannical area rapidly descended. King of the North Uzlan had arrived. Oh, shit. Well, like, yeah, no, not the strongest, but like, it just said the closest. But the leader. Why him? It's sweet. So there's also the Angel of Imagination Adam. Okay, this is all gonna tie into Audrey in some way, shape, or form. Imagination, the fucking King of Imagination Ankwilt, or what was it? Dragons of Imagination Ankwilt, Dragons Imagination. Okay, Spectator. Hold up. Okay, Sequence Zero Dragon, Adam. Okay, we love such lore. Okay, all right, we're gonna keep reading. Just as he said the name, the entire cave shook. The familiar and crazy tyrannical aura rapidly descended. King of the North Uzlan has arrived. Damn. This fucking chapter's called Boss Fight. Oh, before I forget, I have to update this. Beautiful. Chapter 699 is called Boss Fight. Lone Soldier Franzier Edward, who was on guard by the cave's entrance, saw a massive figure descend from the sky. Now the music sounds way too loud. Hold up, let me adjust. Hold up, now the music sounds way too loud. I'm gonna lower it and then it'll ramp up. Lone Soldier Franzier Edwards, who was on guard by the cave's entrance, saw a massive figure descend from the sky just as he moved. It landed on a huge boulder covered in thick layers of ice. The wings, which were covered in membrane of skin, were retracted as he continued spreading outwards, nearly blocking out all surrounding light. The illusionary armored scales that resembled frozen ice and violent, eerie blue dragons were immediately reflected in Frenzier's eyes. He instinctively sensed the danger as he raised his iron black sword and leapt to the side, rolling far away from where he was standing. Almost at the same time, King of the Northern Uzlan opened its mouth, silently spewing out distorted icy blue flames towards the cave. Wow, that sounds really loud. Towards the cave. Wow, this is really loud. This is really loud on my end. I need to chill with the music. Almost at the same time, King of the Northern Uzlan opened its mouth, silently spewing out distorted icy blue flames towards the cave. It froze everything in its wake. Moments later, the icy blue flames produced a tidal wave formed from the illusionary light as he surged into the dark cave, sealing everything it passed in ice. The words Angel of Imagination Adam were still flashing across Klein's mind as he couldn't help but recall the Emperor Zo's description of the Twilight Hermit Order. Their mission was to revive the original creator and had a high sequence beyonder of the spectator pathway among their ranks, or even the uniqueness. The means in which they summoned the members was through a true dream that connected the eastern and western ends of the continent. Furthermore, it had the characteristic of being detected among being mentioned. He still instinctively retracted in response to the impending danger. He lunged sideways. So they're referencing to Adam as a high sequence beyonder of the spectator pathway. Okay. Okay, all right, hold up. That's what it is. He lunged sideways, dodging towards the uneven parts of the cave, attempting to use the rocks ahead to block the attack. However, the surging, icy blue light hit like a tidal wave that drowned every corner of the cave. It sealed everything, leaving no safe zones inside the cave. Seeing his surroundings turn into an icy cage, a gigantic grayish-blue figure appeared before Klein's eyes. Groselle had stepped forward without a sound. He genuflected with his left knee, leaning his back forward as he stabbed the broadsword in front of him. Light that resembled the dawn of the light bloomed and illusionary walls formed to the left and right of Groselle's, protecting everyone's behind them. An icy blue tidal wave surged over, splitting the erect broadsword before colliding with the light dawn on both sides. Everything in that moment of the cave turned dark for Klein and company before a small source of light was restored. They could still see the bonfire that had been extinguished. It was especially dark, with dim rays of light outside attempting to tear through the layers of the ice. At that moment, every inch of the space in Groselle's was frozen. The giant seemed to become a bug stuck to amber. Right on its heels of that, the sword which was embedded in the ground emitted a luster resembling the light of the dawn. They mixed together, enveloping Groselle before turning into a hurricane of light that swept outwards. Silently, the layers of ice had a huge hole burned through it as it extended all the way to the cave's mouth. Groselle's grayish-blue figures had vanished from where he was. 11 Sungster's Sayat Tess, who hadn't had time to tie her head, held her bow and arrows. Embraced by the swirling gills around her, she charged out of the cave without any delay. Dressed in an asymmetrical black coat, the Solomon Empire Viscount Mobet Zorast mumbled, "Don't be in a rush, or it's finally here." As he ran, flowing closely behind Syatis, the ascetic snowman stood up as well. He tapped his chest 4 times as though he was forming the shape of a cross. "May the Lord bless me." Amidst his hoarse and dry voice, he stepped onto the biting cold ice with his bare foot and ran out of the cave. Klein didn't hesitate either. He didn't draw his revolver, and he kept his hands empty. Together with Anderson, who was clenching death, breadsheet down tightly, they ran into the hole in the ice. Dressed in a shirt with complicated patterns, Edwina Edwards looked at the Nitz, who was trembling due to the aura of the high-level entity. Ooh. He's trembling. She said with a gentle but emotionless tone, "Stay here." Having said that, they looked in her blue eyes deepened. Gales howled around her, pushing her out of the cave. "Stay here." The Nitz was stunned. He subconsciously surveyed his surroundings and saw that the walls covered in frost that completely extinguished the bonfire. The cave was silent, with him being the only one left. Oh, he stayed? The Nitz trembled slowly before he came to stop as he turned to Gabe. However, he didn't say a word, and he saw his captain's figure disappear from the cave's entrance. The Nitz trembling body slowly came to stop as he turned to Gabe. However, he didn't say a word as he saw the captain's figure disappear from the cave's entrance. Outside of the cave, Frenzier Edward, who had just rolled to avoid the first series of attacks, saw Uzlan spread its wings as it was about to leap into the sky, closing in the distance between him and his parties. He ensured his safety, and he steadied his figure as he pushed his left palm out diagonally. Immediately following that, he declared a statement in ancient Phasic: "Flying is prohibited here." Suddenly, oh, that's sick. Flying is prohibited, and now it's like he's able to okay, and now he can bound him to the ground. Suddenly, the frost dragon's wings that bloated out of the sky seemed to be weighed down by an invisible object. That's sick. Weighed 100 times of its body weight, it began flapping them without great difficulty. The King of the North immediately let out a fierce roar as a loud sonic boom drilled into Frenzier's ears, making his stagger. With a whoosh, the pair of wings finally managed to flap, stirring up the snow and frost around it in the air. Although it was difficult for Uzlan's part, it eventually managed to fly. At that moment, disciplinary paladin Frenzier's expression turned solemn. He said a sentence constructed in ancient Hermes once again: "Violators will be punished." Just as he said that, his figure leaped up at the speed which was faster than Uzlan, as though he had been augmented by some unknown power. Ding! Frenzier extended his body in midair as he brandished the iron black sword in hand, striking down at the King of the North's neck with his posture speaking great certainty of a hit. A clear crack appeared on the crystalline armor plates as it spread slightly. However, this failed to make Uzlan bled. Ugh. The frost dragon didn't even feel the pain as its airy blue eyes locked onto Frenzier's, expression cruel and tyrannical. This dragon reminds me of the dragon from Game of Thrones, the frost dragon. Well, hold on, I won't get into spoilers. Badoons are prohibited here. No, zero badooning today. It then lifted up as his claws with Frenzier remained in midair without any means of dodging. At that critical moment, a hurricane blew over, pushing the black armored disciplinary paladin away, causing Uzlan's strikes to swipe at air. Its strikes caused an explosive boom despite the miss. Elven Songs of Syatis didn't hesitate to take action once she rushed out of the cave, saving Frenzier immediately. Immediately following that, her hair flared up in violation of the laws of nature. They were distant with swirling lightning bolts. She aimed her arrow at the large but slow flying target in the sky, King of the North, before firmly pulling back the arrow. The sky turned dark as the dark clouds had gathered as lightning bounced through them. Shit, dude, that is so sick. Unable to fly smoothly due to the disciplinary paladin's influence, Uzlan suddenly pulled back its wings, swooping down at the Syatis like a high-speed train. Syatis like a high-speed train? Sweeping down a Syatis. I'm saying the name wrong. Syatis like a high-speed train. At that moment, a grayish-blue figure that left one feeling safe had appeared in front of the King of the North's trajectory. Groselle genuflected once again, plunging the broadsword with which was unable by human hands in front of himself. Dawn-like light. That's a tongue twister. Dawn-like light surfaced, forming an invisible, impenetrable wall. Boom. Between the invisible wall. The collision between the frost dragon and Groselle was like a terrifying explosion. It shattered layers of ice around him. It's gonna be so sick if it's animated, dude. No, I know. Disciplinary paladin. Yeah. So this is after Dawn Paladin, right? No. Dawn Paladin was sequence 6? Yes? No? The collision between the frost dragon and Groselle was like a terrifying explosion and shattered layers of ice around him, pushing them outwards. Groselle failed to keep his footing firm as he flew out like a ball, tumbling past Syatis before slamming loudly into the mountain wall. A huge amount of snow was iced. So sick. Oh my god, I keep mixing them up. The word paladin is throwing me off. Thank you for reminding me, Cammy. I'm sorry. My pathway knowledge has been pretty hampered this volume. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I do apologize for that, but it's gonna be different for volume 4 and onwards. Groselle failed to keep his footing firm as he flew out like a ball, tumbling past Hiatus before slamming loudly into the mountain wall. So he crashed. A huge amount of snow and ice probably fell, right? A huge amount of snow and ice stalactites crashed from above, nearly causing an avalanche. As for Uzlan, it wasn't sent retreating. It remained standing in its original spot. Having had its swooping attack interrupted, its hind legs were in the ground as its body leaned forward. It shook its neck before aiming its open mouth at Syatis. The Solomon Empire's noble Mobet Zoroist had long arrived beside Syatis. Upon seeing this, he hurriedly extended his right hand and rapidly turned his wrist. Uzlan forgot what it was doing despite having its mouth completely Uzlan forgot what it was doing despite having its mouth completely open. It stood there in the daze without continuing its attack. Suddenly, Mobet turned his head and spit to the side. Phew. The spit was ordinary without any special traits to it. Well, here, we're almost done with it. Can't hear the music? Yeah, it's... Seizing this opportunity, Snowman Aesthetic, who came out, raised his arms as though he was embracing God's grace. He's going to hug him. Then he said to Elven songster and ancient Hermes, God says it's effective. With a sizzling sound, the flashing of lightning surrounded Syatis, brightened greatly as he surged out, entangling with the arrow. She released her grip as an arrow shot out. Boom. Dark clouds gathering in the air as a thick bolt of lightning smote down augmented the arrows. The arrow turned completely silver as though it was shot from the god of lightning. It struck Uzlan's forehead at a completely unavoidable speed. Layers of ice disappeared as the illusory armor plating cracked. The arrow stabbed into the King of the North's head, making it let out a deafening cry. Light blue blood gushed out and quickly froze. Oh, because it's cold? It quickly froze as the Frost Dragon's ugly face shook violently as the silver bolt zapped it. At that moment, Klein and Anderson came out of the cave. Disappointing Paladin Frenzier had tumbled onto the ground before standing up again. That's sick. Let me raise the volume up just a little bit. Before standing up again, Groselle extended his palms from the snow pile, rubbing his head. He didn't appear seriously injured. With so many teammates, I don't have to be the main assault force. I can attempt to control Uzlan's spirit body threads. No shot. He's going to control the fucking dragon, dude. From my observations, it doesn't seem to have the defensive abilities of a demigod. Of course, it's much stronger than the Sequence 5. A 5-meter radius is a little dangerous. Klein looked at the Frost Dragon and quickly had an idea. Now, if we make this the fucking marionette, GG. Clothes are prohibited here. Praise the fool. Chapter 700 is called Excellent Teamwork. King of the North Uzlan's tragic cries rapidly turned into roar. Following that, a snowstorm engulfed the area outside the cave, reducing the visibility to less than 5 meters. All right, let me reread this part, but we're going to take out the Tekken music. King of the North Uzlan's tragic cries rapidly turned into a roar. Wait, hold up. No, you're good. So we're going to reread and play Walls Closing In because it's been a while. Chapter 700, Excellent Teamwork. King of the North Uzlan's tragic cries rapidly turned into roar. Following that, a snowstorm engulfed the area outside the caves, reducing the visibility to less than 5 meters. Howling gale swept up to dense goose feathers as they covered every inch of space. Meanwhile, an icy blue halo rapidly extended outwards, clinging close to the ground. It left frozen ice everywhere in its wake as it passed. Klein, who had his vision and hearing affected by the blizzard, instantly had the corresponding scene surface in his mind. He hurriedly bent his knees and kicked his heels, jumping high up, allowing the icy blue halo to sweep underneath him. As for Mobet Zoroist, who wasn't adapted to combat, he was already too close to the icy blue halo when he noticed it. He didn't have the time to jump up. At that moment, he was hoisted up by the shoulders. At the bottom of his feet had a tempestuous hurricane lift him up into the air. With a combination, he instantly flew up into the sky, avoiding the outcome of being frozen. Mobet turned his head and said without surprise, saw the deadpan Syatis. This elven songster could only muster up the strong winds to glide forward due to the law forbidding flight. Anderson and Duina Snowman and Frenzier retracted accordingly, jumping in time and dodging an attack without succumbing to it. Only Groselle, who had just pulled out of his broadsword from the snow, was hit in the legs by the icy blue halo as he couldn't dodge in time. Layers of ice instantly surged outwards as Groselle stood on the spot like a frozen corpse. Whoosh. Did you update chapter? I think I did. The exaggerated blizzard obscured all the beyond their visions, making them lose their vision of the frost again. all they could do was passively defend against any attacks. At that moment, Snowman, who hadn't dropped to the ground, spread out of his arms once again and said solemnly, "And ancient Hermes, God says it's ineffective." The violent blizzard suddenly calmed down significantly, be it the tempestuous hurricanes or the dense snowflakes. They were weakened or had been cut in half. Sciatus vaguely made a gigantic face with an ugly lizard-like face. The broken arrow was still embedded in his forehead. Uzlan had taken the opportunity to close the distance between them. Sciatic didn't panic. The strong wind suddenly changed the direction, sending Mobet and her floating backwards. Meanwhile, her chilled pale lips opened as they sang an ancient and abstruse elvish. The rocks are destined like abstruse, like vague, abstruse elvish. Music doesn't really fit. You know what? It does sound a little different. So let me read from here, and I think we'll just keep the expedition music playing, the Lampmaster song. The violent blizzard suddenly calmed down significantly, but as tempestuous hurricane or the dense snowflakes, they were weakened or had been cut in half. Sciatus vaguely made out a gigantic face with an ugly lizard-like face. The broken arrows was still embedded in the forehead. Need some more audio playing. Like them screaming in the background. Uzlan had taken an opportunity to close the distance between them. Sciatic didn't panic. The strong wind suddenly changed direction, sending Mobet and her floating backwards. Meanwhile, her chilled, pale lips opened as she sang an ancient and obtuse elvish. The rocks are destined to be shattered by the waves. Yo, good morning, dude. Good morning, guys. These trees are destined to be struck down by the winds. The mountains are destined to be crumbled like lightning. As every word in elvish was rich and filled with meaning, the constructed sentences were extremely I can't read this word. Succinct. Therefore, the lyrics didn't waste too much of Sciatus' time. Furthermore, the moment the first word was spoken, and from the beginning of the beautiful and forceful rhythm, the wind and the blizzard began to experience changes. The howling sounds of the wind turned chaotic as it spread out in every direction. Uzlan's massive figure once again appeared before Klein and company's eyes. When Sciatus sang the third face, disciplinary paladin Frenzier had already pushed out of the right palm and profoundly set an ancient Hermes in prison. Instantly, the frost dragon, which was about to rust Sciatus and Mobet, had frozen the spot. Surrounding it were layers of transparent walls. As for Frenzier said that softly, Edwina, who has just found her footing, made her light blue eyes turn black. Inside them flowed a sticky liquid that seemed to be the manifestation of all the evil and depths of one of its heart. She gently clenched her right palm and at Uzlan stood up with a roar, instantly ripped apart the effects of the imprison. The frost dragon's eerie blue eyes were filled with blankness and pain. It seemed to still be immersed in the emotions of sudden madness and ruthlessness. Even though this was a state it was always in, to have it fully triggered was uncomfortable. Without a doubt, it was a dragon who found it difficult to control its emotions. Seizing the opportunity of Uzlan's brief pause, Anderson Hood condensed a burning white... the burning white sphere. Burning white sphere in his hand, then he bent back and threw it out like a javelin. I remember that. He used that in the last fight on the boat. Without waiting for the outcome, flames appeared under the strongest hunter's feet, turning ice into liquid stew. The spear accurately struck the frost dragon's half-open mouth, quickly melting the thick armor plates of ice with the excess force penetrating the upper parts of its forehead. Oh, because it went through and it came out of the forehead? Ugh. Uzlan let out another tragic cry as its hind legs stomped backwards, sending its body lunging forward. It stayed close to the ground as it rushed towards Anderson with a terrifying speed. This is such a fucking badass fight. Why does Volume 3 go so fucking hard, man? There have been so many fucking good fights in this volume. Like, hands down, these are my best fights in all of LOTM so far. Like, these are some of the best fights. Like, the Mr. A fight and the Inns fight and, like, his, like, people and, like, the Lenavus fight in Volume 2 were fucking crazy. But, like, this is just, like, it's, like, one-upping it. I don't know if we're gonna be able to one-up, like, fucking Inns riding in meteorites falling from the sky in this volume. Volume 4 will go harder. Volume 4 is gonna go so hard, it's gonna make... It's going to be... Oh, shut up. I was gonna make an erect broadsword reference. I'ma shut up. Uzlan let out another tragic cry as his legs stomped backwards, sending its body lunging forward. It stayed close to the ground as it rushed towards Anderson with a terrifying speed. The only thing its eyes was worn that dealt significant amounts of damage to it. Swing? What kind of... You might actually faint? Dude. I actually almost fainted in the movie theaters once, and it was when I was watching Endgame, man. I was hyperventilating in the theaters, man. That shit was crazy. The snow split apart as deep and wide chasm opened to its ground, and emanated all the way to where Anderson was and as it continued extending. Bang! With its terrifying inertia, the frost dragon slammed into a boulder covered in thick ice, shattering its outer shell and cracking its... I like how it has this like ice layer around him. Cracking its interior. If Anderson had collided with it, the strongest hunter was bound to turn into meat paste. Even being brushed was likely to lead to his death. However, in a particular spot in the chasm where Anderson was originally standing, there was a dark hole that led straight down. It was enough for a person to barrow it. A hand held onto the hole's entrance. Through the extrusion of force, the strongest hunter was the healed hair jumped out. After he threw the burning spear, he didn't dodge in panic. Instead, he directly used the beyonder powers and melted the snow beneath his feet. As he burned the underlying soul silently, he created a hole that wasn't too deep. Following that, he sank himself into it by crouching perfectly, dodging the King of the North's charge. At that moment, a pure beam of light descended and struck Groselle, quickly melting the ice encasing him. Snowman had used an offensive blow to remove the restrictions placed on the giant garden. With the explosive light of dawn, Groselle raised his broadsword and charged to the frost dragon with white strides before cleaving down widely. Bang, bang, bang. Groselle was only a meter shorter than Uzlan's non-humanoid form. His strength was equally ridiculous as he clashed repeatedly with Uzlan's front claws, occasionally wavering and retreating at times. He quickly recovered, taking a step forward and engaging his opponent. With the giant garden occupying the frost dragon's attentions, like he's just aggroing him, the others reacted accordingly with relative composure. Damn. Snowman maintained his... Well, I do love that opening, by the way. To Be Hero 6 opening, To Be Hero X goes hard. That's just a really good opening. Snowman maintained his spread arms as the sun-like halo appeared around him. It quickly spread outwards, warming up all his companions, giving them immense courage. Furthermore, he's like a bard. He's buffing them up. And is giving them immense courage. Furthermore, he carefully ensured that as it avoided the King of the North. Not far from him, Sayata's hair flared up as she drew her bowstring. She shot out the arrows that appeared to be formed from the wind blades of lightning due to the massive target. Every single one of her arrows had hit her target. Furthermore, all other arrows struck the same spot, the frost dragon's shoulders. Mobet Zaros worked with Groselles, occasionally stealing the thoughts of the kings of the north, had and was about to execute, making it pause briefly. At other times, he would attempt to steal its powers, but in the few times he didn't have any success. With the pitch black sword, Anderson carefully circled the frost dragon's flank and attempted to strike a particular spot. Disciplinary paladins, Frenzier brandished his iron black sword, using prohibition and imprison to aid Groselle's brawl with the frost dragon. Without his restraints, even if the giant was a guardian, he would still have long been sent flying and suffering a fatal stomp of the spewing of its breath. Really? Klein looked at Edwina and raised his hand to point at him. Invisibility. He didn't know if she had the ability to mimic this power. If it was possible, he needed to consider using other methods. Edwina didn't ask why her light blue and limped eyes immediately reflected Germanspro's body, which was lost in the cold and turned transparent. Following that, Klein's figure became faint and vanished. After confirming his condition, Klein quickly ran towards the intense clash between the giant and the dragon. With a roll, he has to be within 5 meters, right? He arrived at the King of the North's left foot. Then, as he focused on dodging Uzlan's feet while in... Fucking cool fight, dude. While it did battle, he emanated his spirituality to control the illusory black threads with his spirit body threads, visions he had long activated. The fact that he's going to be able to do this is kind of crazy. Right on the heels of that, he would roll or leap around in search of the space beneath or around the frost dragon. So. Silver lightning air, like fucking Rosalga was able to control a fucking worm. Klein is going to have full control over a fucking ice dragon, bro. That is crazy. I hope it happens. I mean, knock on wood, it happens. Silver lightning arrows and pure azure wind blades landed in the small region, shattering the armor plates of ice, tearing apart the resilient skin. Soon, the frost dragon's right shoulder was a swath of light blue. The corresponding claws motions also appeared to slow down indiscriminately. Disciplinary paladin Frenzier accurately noticed this point. As he dodged the icy blue breath, he pointed in the direction and declared in ancient Hermes, death. You gonna be a dragon tamer. Loki gonna be a beast tamer. It's a fucking good ass fight. And then like the fact that he has to kind of like, it reminds me of like some Attack on Titan shit, where like they'll use their 3D maneuver gears and they have to like kind of like skirmish through all the Titans, and like it's like the person can only, it's like he's only so small like going through it. It's so cool, dude. Disciplinary paladin Frenzier actually noticed this point. As he dodged the icy blue breath, he pointed in the direction and declared in ancient Hermes, death. Sick. That's the fucking hit that hit Klein when he was as the Dark Emperor bandit. This is some How to Train Your Dragon, dude, and the movie just came out. That How to Train Your Dragon live action movie just came out. Oh shit! How to Train Your Dragon. This is a sequel to How to Train Your Dragon, just a more darker, gloomier twist to it. With a bursting sound, the blue blood flowing from Wuzlan's right shoulder instantly dried up, and the tear allowed his translucent bones to be seen. At that moment, Edwina used a palm-sized brass mirror, and reflected parts of Wuzlan's body on it. She reached out of her right hand and grabbed at the mirror's surface, pinching the reflection within. Then she forcefully pulled outwards. Wuzlan's wound instantly. What the fuck? So it's like instead of using like a doll to like hurt your opponent, she's using the mirror, and then she can like. It's like she pinched him. Wait, I read that wrong. Then she forcefully pulled outwards. Okay, Wuzlan's wounds instantly worsened. It kept spreading as though it was about to lose one of its front claws. It let out a tragic cry as it suddenly raised its body, standing on its hind legs. Light blue light that was almost white surged out of the dragon. In a 100-meter range, the temperature plummeted, flowed by a fearsome force. Suddenly, all the Beyonders were sealed in ice. Their bodies became extremely cold as they turned very stiff. They couldn't help but tremble. We're supposed to keep the dragon? He can't really bring... No, he's gonna turn it into like a miniature. Oh, Uli-san, not Uzlan. Uli-san. I think that I read... Uzli-san, sorry. I was thinking the Y was silent. Unhinged had me thinking the Y was silent because of our earlier discussion. Sayatis, Mobet, Edwina, Klein, Grizel, Anderson, and Frinzer all shared similar symptoms. The only one who barely maintained his mobility was an ascetic snowman, thanks to withstanding the training of being frozen countless times. He maintained his spread arms, half closed his eyes, and solemnly said, "God loves everyone." Sunlight tore through the wind and snow as the warmth began to melt the feeling of being frozen. Bang! Wuzlan sent Grizel flying with a claw, severely injuring the giant garden by leaving a depression in his chest, and temporarily ignored the rest as it targeted Snowman Blitz rushing him. I'm sorry, where is the Nitz in this whole situation? Is he still out there just waiting? Snowman has no one protecting him. It's about to move beyond a 5-meter radius. Klein, oh, he has to stay close. Klein watched the scene feeling somewhat numb. He had the urge of running into the cave to pray to himself before using... Oh, yeah, he can use Sea God Scepter. Before using Sea God Scepter above the Great Fog to respond. At that moment, okay, the Nitz is here. Scarlet Fireball appeared beside the aesthetic before the... Or Zik or Anderson, one of them. Appeared beside the aesthetic before the frozen dragon arrived. Then it exploded without any reservation, sending him flying. He's still hiding. Dude, he better come out and get the last hit. And then Edwina be like, "Oh, my beautiful shining Danitz came to save me." It was from the strongest hunter, Anderson. At that moment, Edwina... Man, I feel kind of bad, though, that he's, like, just hiding. No, he has to be waiting for the right opportunity to strike. At that moment, Edwina had produced a fireball in her hand and threw it at Wuzlan's back, but she failed to hit it. She was creating a passageway for Klein to phase over with a fire. Oh, okay, flame ignition. She had learned from the Nitz of the ability German Sparrow had. All right, that's smart. Damn. Next chapter, chapter 701. It's called Giants Never Retreat. Wuzlan arrived at Snowman's location, but he failed to hit anything, and it slid past, leaving behind a deep chasm. Behind it, fireballs exploded afterwards, producing bursts one after another. Klein's somewhat stiff figure flashed about thanks to the fire. The Kings of the North didn't manage to open up a gap from him to as 5 meters was maintained. By this time, Wuzlan came to a stop. Klein, who was still invisible, suddenly sensed something amiss. A corresponding scene appeared in his mind. He lunged forward as he clung close to the ground and appeared underneath the frost dragon. Let me try text-to-speech.
Uli-san arrived at
Uli-san? But I haven't learned his trolls. I know. He gets me sometimes. Uli-san arrived at Snowman's location, but he failed to hit anything. It slid past, leaving behind a deep chasm. Behind, the fireballs exploded afterwards, producing bursts one after another. Klein's somewhat stiff figure flashed about thanks to the fire. The King of the North didn't manage to open up a gap from him as the 5 meters was maintained. By this time, Uli-san came to a stop. Klein, who was just invisible, suddenly sensed something amiss. A corresponding scene appeared in his mind. He lunged forward as he clung close to the ground and appeared underneath most dragons. Meanwhile, Ulislan's thick and powerful tail had swung over, lashing it towards the nearby Syatis and Mobet. Whoosh. With a loud crack, Mobet was sent flying as he dodged the Frost Dragon's tail. As for Syatis, she failed to keep up. Although she had the aid of the gales to retreat and reduce the force, she had been struck to the side. The strike shattered the thick illusionary scales as the surface of her body, while her ribs fractured. Ooh, like right here. She was also thrown out, but thanks to the wind, she didn't fall too hard. And now that everybody is down, this is where the Nits comes out and shine and gains Edwina's approval. She was also thrown out, but thanks to the wind, she didn't fall to the ground too harsh on the snow. If it were Mobet or Anderson, the strike would have instantly killed them. Thankfully, the storm pathway had the corresponding illusionary scales to protect her. Furthermore, every sequence advancement brought about the corresponding improvements. Syatis was only heavily injured, but she didn't lose consciousness. She didn't even completely lose her mobility. At that moment, Uzlan's neck moved as it widened its mouth, spewing out a light blue beam of light. The beam of light swept past Snowman, freezing him into an ice sculpture. Edwina, Frenzier, and Anderson blocked by the huge dragon's body. They couldn't help him in time with the use of their beyonder powers because of the distance. Bang! The Frost Dragon leaped up a bit and turned around. When it hit the ground again, it left a slight tremor. At that moment in time, it was clearly in a terrible state. The crack on its right shoulder was abnormally nasty. Although the frozen light blue liquid barely stopped the wound from the worsening, its corresponding claw was nearly maimed and could hardly be used. Many of the illusionary scales on its body had shattered, abnormally dimmed. It was as though they had lost large amounts of vitality. Regardless, it had severely injured and restrained 3 of its opponents. The situation was much better than before, especially with Groselle being seriously injured. It was no longer caught up in battle and could now attack as it wished. Upon seeing the scene, Edwina's light blue eyes turned black again. Sticky vile thoughts slowly followed. She suddenly clenched her right palm, causing Ulisan to raise its head in a roar. It was an extruding pain as light blue liquid flowed from the corners of its eyes, mouth. At that moment, the only thought of the Frost Dragon's mind was to purge the emotional disturbance from its spirit body. Taking the opportunity, Edwina's eyes lit up and turned extremely pure. The light of the dawn around her quickly materialized into a sword. She wanted to play the role of a guardian to fend off the King of the North. She believed that Grimminsborough definitely had his reasons for staying by Uzlan's side while being invisible. All he needed was time. To be fair to the Nits, Grimminsborough, he hasn't done anything yet. True. That is also true. He's still been hiding. He's kind of like, he's been biding his time. But everybody's like, there has to be a reason. At that moment, a figure enveloped in the original light of dawn had charged at the Frost Dragon. It was none other than the giant Groselle. His chest had sunk in, his grayish blue skin was pale, and the broadsword in his hand web-like cracks. However, he still bravely faced his enemy. Groselle cleaved at his target like he was burning up his fate. Emitting light and warmth, giants never retreat. Amidst his roars, Groselle parried the Frost Dragon repeated blow, and he managed to dodge the ice blue breath time due to it maintained front flow. I read that wrong. Front claw. Imprisoned, Frenzier ran over and began to restrict the King of the North's actions. Edwina also worked in tandem with it. Once Uzlan's rage allowed it to escape the restraints, she triggered its emotions again, allowing the restriction to continue and prevent the charge from happening again. Wait, she triggered its emotions again, allowing the restriction to continue and prevent the charge from happening again. At this moment, Anderson switched between throwing burning white spear and fireballs. Again and again, he dealt severe damage to the Frost Dragon. After Mobat managed to catch his breath, he continued stealing its thoughts or power, stopping the Frost Dragon's attacks. That's sick, dude. Giant never treated. He keeps getting up. Uzlan attempted to spread its wings a second time. It flew into the air a second time, sending snow flying with Frenzier, adding another flight restriction. It could only give up when it sensed the difficulty in doing so. Klein, who kept switching positions by its feet, gained a deeper control of its spirit body threats. It had long reached the 20-second threshold, but he failed to achieve success. This is because the King of the North spirituality was extremely potent. After a while, there was a clang. Groselle broadsword was tainted by the Frost Dragon's breath and was struck by the claw. The former shattered completely, turning into countless fragments as they flew everywhere. With spunting sounds, the invisible walls in front of Groselle reached their limit as they let through several fragments that impeded his head and chest. Frenzier, who was similarly nearby, failed to dodge in time. The side of the armor collided with fragments as his side was mangled. Giants never retreat. Oh, that's why D said that. Giants never retreat. Look at that, dude. Groselle. Oh, he fucking roared that, dude. Goats. Not Groselle. Goatzelle. This is a fun, like, I remember you guys were talking about Father Trotsky. You were like, Father Goat Trotsky? Fucking giant, how do you say giant Grotzel? Fucking giants never retreat. Grotzel roared loudly once again. The light of the dawn radiated from him once again as his sword made of pure light appeared in his palm. As the dark red blood on his face flowed and he parried the frost dragon spike, at that moment Klein was flicking the spirit body threads before he finally saw the opportunity to achieve initial control. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Uzlan's actions instantly froze as its joint seemed to grow rust. The frost dragon immediately became alert and sensed the source of the danger came from beneath him. Seeing the moment before its thoughts came to a complete halt, it instantly made the decision to sit down. It wanted to quash the despicable fella. Suddenly, its mind went adrift, having forgotten what it wanted to do, and about 20 meters away, Mobet Zorost's knees buckled as he sat strangely on snow. Klein took the opportunity to move his feet, walking to the side of the frost dragon's hind leg at a decent speed. His invisibility was beginning to wear off. After all, the mimicked ability definitely couldn't compose with the original. He extended his hand halfway as it spiritually jumped, his action akin to controlling a huge puppet. Bang! Uzlan, whose thoughts were already slowing down, finally recalled what it wanted to do and like, now I remember. Its hind legs slowly bent as its hefty figure smashed downwards, but all it did was send snow and dust flying. No good. Have to do it. Thoughts flashed through its mind sporadically as its heart suddenly contracted, condensing a terrifying light blue halo. This was the beyond power stemmed from its life. It could create a cold hell. With this, Klein and company could completely freeze. If not for the snowman's experience and powers of being capable of restraining the state, more than 1 or 2 Beyonders would have died. However, with it under Klein's control, everything Uzlan tried to do was clearly impeded. Damn, look at that. I'll send you the ones you can find. Oh, thank you, man. We'll look at them right now. We'll look at them right now when we're done with this chapter, only 2 to 3 pages. Hell yeah, dude. Edwina actually noticed the source of danger, which she previously had no idea about. Immediately, she clenched her right fist, detonating the frost dragon's strong emotions. Detonating? The king of the Norse figure trembled in slow motion as the light blue halo that it had just converged scattered out of the control. It failed to interfere with its environment. The frost dragon's mouth slowly opened and let out a stuttering cry. Sayatis stood up with a great difficulty. The moment she recovered a little, upon seeing the situation, she immediately held back her pain and drew her bow. Her hair flared up again and heavy dark clouds appeared in midair once again. 2 different silver bolts of lightning added radiance to each other as he surged onto the bow, forming a terrifying arrow that swirled with a bolt of lightning. Sayata's face twisted as she released the arrow. The silver bolt of lightning instantly penetrated Uzlan's chest with a whoosh, tearing open a ghastly wound. Flames spewed and lightning bolts sparked inside its wound, causing greater damage. At that moment, Anderson's eyes lit up. My voice! I'm losing my voice! A blazing white flame enveloped his body as he transformed into a stream of light, accurately shooting straight for the wound. Pitch black marks rapidly surfaced on the frost dragon's abdomen as though someone was scribbling over it. Uzlan's thoughts weren't as slow due to the intense stimulation. As it struggled to flap its wings, it soared up into the sky. Flying is prohibited here. Frontier added more restrictions in a timely manner. Bang. King of the North fell to the ground again as its pitch black marks on his abdomen tore open. Light blue blood and damaged organs spewed out like a waterfall. It's flowing. It's coming out, right? King of the North fell to the ground again as its pitch black marks on its abdomen tore open. Yeah, because it's standing. Or it's on 4 legs. Okay, so it'd go down. Light dive fell on his back. No, it didn't fall on his back. Light blue blood and damaged organs spewed out like waterfall. Anderson took this opportunity to jump away from the dragon's body. The flames over his body had extinguished as transparent layers of ice convert him. Cold. It's really cold. He held deaf, branchy, don't, as he stiffly jumped away. His body was constantly trembling. Klein, who had nearly allowed the frost dragon to escape his binding, achieve his initial control again. He made Uzlan's thoughts of making everyone present die with it slowed down as it suffered from theft explosion. Its long neck slowly locked up as it let out a slow whimper as his body collapsed bit by bit. During this process, Klein did an attempt to stop Sayatis and company's continued attacks. He knew very well that to turn the frost dragon into a marionette needed far more than 5 minutes. There were too many accidents that could happen in the span of time. Franziar stood straight while panting. With the side of the body mangled, he pushed forward his swordless palm and declared in ancient Hermes, death. Uzlan's body trembled as it collapsed to the ground like a small mountain made of ice. Light blue light that was nearby white was released from its weight. Light blue light that was nearly white was released from its body as its flesh and body quickly disintegrated. Soon the gigantic dragon's corpse turned into a snow-laden heavy door that swung... Oh, it's the exit! Soon... Oh, the fucking dragon was the door! Soon the gigantic dragon's corpse turned into a snow-laden heavy door that swung outwards. Without anyone mentioning it, all the Beyonders present knew it was a door leading to the outside world. Finally success. Groselle laughed out loud as his voice grew softer. Thud. His nearly 4-meter tall figure fell forward as he held himself up with his knees. Dude, he's gonna sink the ship, bro. This fucking giant is literally gonna sink the boat when they go back. He's gonna be too heavy for the boat. He's gonna have to swim his way back. Following that, the light dawn around him scattered as his aura was almost immediately... Who? His nearby 4-meter tall figure fell forward as he held himself up with a knee. Following that, the light of dawn around him scattered as his aura was almost immediately gone. Groselle, Syatis and company went over with great difficulty at great speed. Groselle looked around him slowly, clenching his fist as he gave a good-natured laugh. We succeeded. Giants never retreat. His head with a single vertical eye dropped down with his voice came to a halt. His head with a single vertical eye dropped down when it... No shot. Wait, did he die? Wait, no. Really? This is going to be our last chapter for today. Chapter 702 is called Epilogue. Groselle, Frontier, who was closest to the giant, rushed to Groselle and caught him. Then he slowly released his grip and stood up as though he had just experienced a confusing dream. Satyr tore out Mobette's arm and ignored the pain all over her body. She ran to Groselle's side with the aid of the wind. She bent down and carefully observed for a moment. We are recording, right? Yes? It's updated? Yes. She bent down and carefully observed for a moment. Then she nudged the giant and hysterically shouted, wake up, it's not time for us to leave. Her voice softened in silence. Mobette stood by the side, seeing the giant unable to maintain his body as it wavered. Finally, it fell to the ground with a thud. He fell silent for a few seconds before exhaling. After that moment, Anderson and Edwina had already ran to Snowman, once used a flame, while the other mimicked the holy light to quickly defrost him. As Klein was nearby, he directly arrived by Groselle's side. His spirit-body thread vision told him that the giant was dead. Only his spirit lingering, but it was beginning to scatter. This made his damage transfer powers completely useless. For the moment, Groselle ignited the light of dawn and engaged in the Frost Dragon. A second battle. He must have prepared himself for death. Klein fell silent. Damn. Mobette glanced at him and said with a rueful smile, to be frank, I've not seen many giants. Most of my impressions of them had come from the book. Teachers and parents, I always thought that this race cruel and violent, unintelligent creatures who were closest to monsters. However, Groselle wasn't like that. He was frank, honest, and optimistic. Although he might appear rather silly, he knew better than anyone he was right and wrong. He told me that this was because he wasn't one of those ancient giants. He wasn't even a second... let me put the volume up just a smidge. He suddenly passed through... Wait. I don't even know if I should believe him, but his existence is proven possibility. Wait, what the fuck? I skipped a line. He told me that this was because he wasn't one of those giants. He wasn't even a second or third generation giant. The cruel and violent giants similarly had the ability to reproduce and give birth. As for their descendants, there would be more rational ones appearing from time to time. These descendants would reproduce and have more descendants, allowing his entire giant race to escape from the confines of being monsters. I don't know if I should believe him, but his existence has proven the possibility. As Mobette said... Ellie wants to get down. No, Ellie, you gotta learn to just hang out. Just like one more chapter. As Mobette said that, he suddenly paused as though he immersed in his memories. At that moment, Edwina and Anderson held Snowman, whose body was still a little stiff, walk over the aesthetic struggle as he walked to Groselle's side. I don't know if I should believe him, but his existence has proven the possibility. As Mobette said that, he suddenly paused as though immersed in his memories. At that moment, Edwina and Anderson held Snowman, whose body was still a little stiff, walk over the aesthetic struggle as he walked to Groselle's side. Looking at a tightly closed single eye, Snowman gestured to the sign of the cross on his chest. He half closed his eyes as he whispered a prayer. Father of all things, the great source of everything, here lies an honest, pure soul. May he enter your kingdom and receive ethereal redemption. Syatis opened her mouth as though she wanted to say that Groselle's faith was in Giant King's Armir, but she ultimately chose to keep silent. She watched in silence as Snowman completed the prayer. We have to leave as quickly as possible. No one knows how long this door will remain open. The elven songster said as she surveyed the surroundings. Her sorrow and pain left her rather quickly tempted. She looked down at the giant and added in a heavy voice, "We can't let Groselle's soul dissipate in the illusion world. We have to bring him back to reality." Alright, Mobet immediately agreed. Klein and company didn't object either. Edwina turned her head and shouted at the mountain cave of the ice and snow, "The Nits, you can come now." Fucking the Nits was hiding the whole time. Son of a bitch. At that moment, Sayatis' eyes darted around as though she had recalled something. She turned her head and said to Klein, "Do you have a pen and paper?" Yes, Klein took out a fountain pen and notes and brought it around him. This was a professional trait of being a seer. Sayatis received it and began scribing on it. She didn't stop even when the Nits ran out of the cave. The Nits kept silent. He was in low spirits as well, lacking the joy and excitement he should have when pending departure from this book world. Finally, Sayatis stopped writing and handed the paper and pen to Klein. "The formula you wanted. Aren't we completing the trade only after leaving?" Klein mumbled silently in puzzlement. He received the pen and ocean songster potion formula. Oh, that was part of the deal. As though sensing his puzzlement, Sayatis turned her head and looked at Groselle. She said with a heavy voice, "We are now companions, so you can give me the potion formula directly." Klein put the items away, not indiscriminately. "I'll give you the wine cup after we leave." Sayatis didn't respond. Instead, she nudged Mobet. "Bring Groselle along." Mobet looked down at his body, which wasn't too muscular, and his sharp, curly leather boots. He gave a bitter smile of helplessness and walked to Groselle's thigh. Frenzier suddenly followed as she bent down to embrace the giant's left shoulder. Anderson looked around and tasked, "All of you are injured or weak. Let me do it." He then lifted up Groselle's other shoulders. Klein was just about to help with the other thigh when the Nits rushed over to take the spot. Upon seeing this, he stopped in his tracks. He then watched Anderson and company lift Groselle as they walked towards the illusory snow-laden door. Klein and Edwina said Klein was just to help out with the other thing when the Nits rushed over to take the spot. Upon seeing this, he stopped in his tracks. He then watched Anderson and company lift Groselle as they walked towards the illusory snow-laden door. Klein, Edwina, Sayatis, who stumbled as she walked, and Snowman silently followed beside them. Oh my goodness. Ellie. Klein, Edwina, Sayatis, who stumbled as she walked, the Snowman silently followed besides them before they arrived at the exit and formed from Muslana's corpse. At that moment, Klein surveyed the area and discovered that the light blue blood that flowed out from the King of the North had vanished. It was as though it had never existed. Indeed, it is a conjured monster that's almost real. Klein walked behind as he watched Edwina take a few steps forward, and she bent her back, placing her palms on the door. Then Vice Admiral Iceberg exerted her strength and pushed open the snow-laden door. Suddenly, everyone saw everything disappear after turning illusory and transparent. Rows of brownish-yellow bookshelves quickly appeared before their eyes, along with the orange-yellow sun, which had just set below the horizon after a desk with a fountain pen, ink bottle, and paper. This was Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina's cabin. Oh, they're back! Klein quickly placed the middle of the table, and his side sitting on it was a book filled with yellowish-brown goatskin. The book flipped to the end as a result of a formless wind. Klein and company then saw the epilogue. With the help of the crazy adventurer and the strongest hunter, Groselle fulfilled the promise. He and his teammates enslaved the King of Yellow North, but also ended up sleeping forever in the nation of forests. It didn't even give our ending. Sayatis, where do you plan on heading next? Mobet released Groselle's thigh as he turned his head to ask the elven songster. Sayatis' eyes seemed to glaze over for a few seconds before she firmly said, "Seek out my race." Just as she said that, she suddenly saw Mobet's flaxen colors, hair rapidly turned white. His originally smooth face had obvious wrinkles. In just seconds, Mobet was dying of old age? Sayatis' heart tightened just as she was about to lunge forward. She had surprised to realize that she had lost the strength in her legs at some point in time. No shot. What the fuck? So they're aging. She instantly understood what was happening as tears immediately flowed down her face. She struggled as she attempted to crawl towards Mobet. Mobet had similarly slumped to the ground as he crawled towards her while extending his right palm. Sayatis reached out her right palm and grabbed the wrinkled and thin hand. They raised their heads with great difficulty as their pupils reflected one another. The corners of their mouths curled up simultaneously before loosening weakly. Their eyelids dropped down and blocked out the light. Now, this is getting hard to read. Klein, Edwina, Anderson, and the Nits failed to react in time to such changes. They had no idea what they would do as they helplessly watched Groselle's corpse rapidly rot and his flesh and blood evaporated, leaving his skeleton and beyond characteristic. As for Mobet, Sciatus, Snowman, Franzier, they aged in seconds before breathing their last breaths and repeating whatever had just happened to Groselle's corpse. Their clothes had either disappeared or turned to dust. Their souls disappeared at extraordinary speeds before they were gone. Oh wow, it's not even like lingering. Even the one who lived inside the book for the shortest time had been there for 165 years. Edwina muttered softly as she turned her head to look at the bones which faced to the sea and sun. It was none other than the disciplinary paladin Franzier. He was sitting on a chair looking west where Backland was. Snowman was sitting cross-legs to the side. His corpse maintained the posture of praying. That's right, they lived in the Book of the World for centuries or millennia. With the rules of the outside world as non-demigods, they should have died long ago. I should have realized this. Why wasn't I worrying of this point at all? Could it be? Klein suddenly recalled the psychological influence of Mobet, Groselle, and company as he began having an idea. He once again looked down at the book, bound by the goatskin. He believed that it had many, many secrets. This fellow is rather interesting. He died just like that. Anderson looked at Mobet's corpse as she shrinked. At that moment, all the beyond her characteristics had slowly condensed. However, Franzier didn't produce anything similar to that. Edwina observed for a moment before softly saying, the potion he consumed was illusionary. Likewise, from the strength he obtained, it was just like the frost dragon? The potion he consumed was illusionary. Likewise, from the strength he obtained is just like that frost dragon. It was likely conjured in the book world. It was almost real, but just not real enough. Klein sighed silently. He was momentarily at a loss for words, just so he can do to maintain Germansboro's silence. In the next 10 minutes, no one spoke in the captain's cabin of the Golden Dream until the fourth beyond characteristic took form. One of them was the size of a fist resembling a heart. It was covered with holes as it shimmered with light of dawn. Another resembled a jellyfish. Its translucent exterior seemed to contain azure blue seawater. Oh, that's the elven ones, right? The songster. And inside it were vortices. Oh, so Klein can give this to Olger. That's so fucked up, man. Vortices that were occasionally stirred by hurricanes of flashing silver lightning while emitting a faint, ethereal song. Another was a pure, bright crystal that exuded holiness. The last was a baby's palm with 5 thin stretches out fingers as it kept changing colors due to the environment. Sigh, we can't just keep watching like this. Finally, Anderson broke silence. Let's split the beyond characteristics. Just as Edwina's light blue eyes were dyed with pang of fire, the hunter shrugged as he said with a weird smile, I believe that they'll have wishes such as this, as we're companions who fought together. Klein right now. Dude, that's sad. Wait, hold up. Let me update this. 703. So we're gonna stop right here. That was such a good like mini arc. That was so cool. Like unironically, it was bittersweet. I think bittersweet endings are the most memorable endings, to be fair. Ellie, please stop. No. Don't worry. Once we finish, we'll go out. We'll go for a little walk. It's just sad, man. Like I was under the idea, like, I wonder how like they're gonna navigate all these new characters in the real world, because it said like time froze, right? It was like, okay, if time froze for them in the book, they don't actually age. It's always bittersweet. Yeah, it does feel bittersweet. It's always been bittersweet. It's never been happy. I was under the impression we sent few artworks. Yeah, we're gonna look at it. I was under the impression that like, okay, because time is freezing, like their age is also freezing, and once they go to the real world, like their actual like inner clock will begin, like, or resume. Like, don't, like, I always thought like, okay, they only age when time resumes in the book and then that'd be it. But no, they got out and then they just fucking age. They turn brittle and then like they turn into dust and just evaporate. And all that's left is your characteristic. The one that was sad was the one that just sat there in the chair and he's just looking in the direction of Backland. You know, he's probably like he was just probably reminiscing his entire life up until that point. Like, he probably, like, he thought he can see all the people he left behind, but no. That's sad. That was fucked up. Wait, let me look at the artwork before we end it. There's artwork. One sec. Artwork. Damn. Fucking crazy. Wait. Let me share my screen. Damn. Did it sharing? Yeah, it's sharing right here. Damn, look at that one. Wait, what the fuck? Where is it? Oh, it's right there. It's like all the way down here. Oh shit. Now like my screen is so like out of it. Ow, wow, 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 wow. Ow, wow, 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 wow. Ow, wow, wow, wow. Ellie, what? That was sad. That was crazy. I realized I didn't hit recording during the artwork part, but we looked at artwork. I wish there was more. Yeah, I wish there was more. It was a really good arc. I liked it. It was. I think for me, bittersweet endings are always the most memorable. Yeah, I mean, happy endings are also memorable. Even fucked up endings are memorable. But this one was definitely bittersweet. We send them. I'll go through it. We'll see which one we'll use as our artwork. All right, man. But I'm gonna let you guys go. I had a beautiful day. We read a couple chapters. We read from 692 to 702. The Nits, yeah, he fucking hid the whole time. I really thought the Nits was gonna come out at the end and get the final hit. What? Oh my god, she wants tummy rubs, and she just wants me to hold her, and she doesn't like it when I have her up here on the chair for some reason. Definitely use yours. We'll go through them. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Have a beautiful day, and we should hopefully be back tomorrow for more, because we are done in less than 30 chapters. We are literally done with volume 3 in about 30 chapters. I don't think I can read 30 chapters tomorrow, and I can't stream Friday. I can't stream Saturday because I'm gonna be out for most of the day. So I'll be live Sunday. Friday we're gonna try and see how much we can read, and then Sunday we'll see how much we can read. But we are for sure done with volume 3 by next week, right before the Dunkwell reacts. It's gonna be good. All right, guys, have a beautiful day. Don't be sick. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I take my vitamins. Don't forget, take your vitamins, guys. All right, guys, have a beautiful day. Peace, and I'll see you guys all very soon. All right, later, guys.